Imagine being in full control of your life, not just your actions, but your thoughts, your emotions, and how you respond to the world around you. Imagine waking up each day with peace in your mind, strength in your heart, and the clarity to know what really matters. But let's be honest, how many times have you felt overwhelmed by your own thoughts, caught in anxiety, anger, doubt, or fear, lost in mental noise that pulls you away from who you truly want to be? What you think shapes how you live. Your thoughts create your beliefs, your choices, your habits, and over time, your entire life. If you can't control your thoughts, then your thoughts will control you. And that's where most people lose the battle before they even begin. They let their mind wander. They let fear decide. They let old stories and emotions lead them down the same path again and again. But that ends today. Today, you're going to learn how to fix your life by starting with your thoughts. These 15 lessons in Stoicism are not just ideas from the past. They are powerful tools for right now. They will show you how to think with clarity, act with strength, and stay calm no matter what life throws at you. So get ready, because once you learn to master your thoughts, everything else in your life begins to change. Before we begin, I want you to make a promise to yourself. Write in the comments. Starting today, I take control of my mind. I am Stoic. You are not just typing words. You are setting a new path. You are reminding yourself who is in charge. And the more you say it, the more your mind will believe it. So write it now, and let's begin. Number 1. Identify your subconscious default settings. Stop for a moment and think, when was the last time you really listened to the thoughts running through your head? Not just the loud ones, the quiet ones too, the ones that show up when you're alone, when you're under pressure, when you fail, when you're afraid. Most people don't realize it, but their thoughts are not original. They are automatic, programmed, repeated, played in loops, from childhood, from past pain, from years of living on autopilot without ever stopping to ask, where is this coming from? You wake up and think you're in control. You make decisions, you speak, you react. But underneath all of that, there's something deeper running the show. Your subconscious, the part of your mind you don't see, but that quietly shapes everything you do. It decides how you see yourself, what you believe about others, what you expect from life, and most of it was formed without your permission. As a child, maybe someone told you that you're not smart, that you're not strong, that you're not good enough. Maybe you were rejected, abandoned, embarrassed. And over time, those moments became beliefs, and those beliefs became habits of thought. Now, as an adult, you're still acting from that same place, without even realizing it. This is what Stoicism warns us about, letting our lives be ruled by emotion, impulse, and unexamined beliefs. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But how can you have power over your mind if you don't even know what your mind is doing behind the scenes? You can't fix your life until you fix the way you think. And you can't fix the way you think until you see what's really going on inside. So here's where you start. Become the observer. Pay attention to the thoughts that show up when you're under stress, when you're criticized, when something doesn't go your way. Don't try to fight them. Don't judge them. Just watch them. Because those are your default settings. That's your mental programming. And until you become aware of them, you'll keep living from them, over and over again. Journaling is one of the most powerful tools you can use, not because it's trendy or productive, but because it forces you to slow down and see your inner world on paper. The next time you feel anxious, insecure, angry, or numb, stop. Take 5 minutes. Write down exactly what you're thinking. Don't filter it. Don't fix it. Just be honest. After a week, go back and read what you wrote. You'll start to notice the same beliefs repeating themselves. I'm not good enough. This always happens to me. What if I fail? That's the script. That's what your subconscious believes. And now that you can see it, you can begin to change it. You don't change your beliefs by shouting affirmations. You change them by challenging them, by asking, is this true? Is this helpful? Would I teach this to someone I love? If the answer is no, then it's time to reprogram your mind. It won't happen overnight. But every time you catch a toxic thought and replace it with truth, you are writing a new mental script. One that is based on strength, clarity, and choice, not fear or the past. Remember this: you were not born with these beliefs. They were given to you, and anything that was given to you can be given back. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are simply running on an old program. And today is the day you begin to rewrite it. So start now. Make a promise to yourself. I will no longer live by thoughts I did not choose. I will take back control of my mind. This is the first step, the most important one, because once your mind is free, everything else begins to change. Number 2, master the internal language of causality. Think about the last time something didn't go your way. Maybe you failed a test. Maybe you lost an opportunity. Maybe someone rejected you, or life simply didn't give you what you expected. Now ask yourself, what did your mind say afterward? I guess I'm just not lucky. People never see my worth. This always happens to me. Without even realizing it, your brain creates a story to explain what happened, and that story becomes the truth you live by. But here's the problem. Most of the stories you tell yourself are based on emotion, not on truth. You don't describe what actually happened. You describe how you feel about what happened, and you attach meaning to it, meaning that either helps you grow or keeps you stuck in place. That's why Stoicism teaches us to be ruthless with our thoughts, not emotional, not reactive, but logical, honest, neutral. The way you explain cause and effect inside your mind is one of the most powerful forces in your life. It either sets you free or keeps you small. It either opens the door to growth or locks you in the prison of excuses. There's a big difference between saying, I failed because I'm unlucky, and saying, I failed because I didn't prepare enough. One blames luck. The other takes responsibility. One ends the conversation. The other opens the door to change. When you blame something outside of yourself, luck, people, the world, fate, you give away your power. You make yourself a victim. You tell your mind, there's nothing I can do. And the more you say it, the more your subconscious accepts it. Soon, you stop trying. You stop learning. You stop growing. Because you've convinced yourself that the outcome is out of your hands. But Stoicism says the opposite. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can always control your response. And more importantly, you can control how you explain it to yourself. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, war, illness, and stress beyond imagination. And yet, in Meditations, he never wrote, "This is unfair," or "Why me?" Instead, he asked, "What part of this is in my control?" and "What can I learn from it?" That is the true internal language of power. So how do you master this skill? You start by listening to your explanations. Every time something happens, good or bad, pause and ask, How am I explaining this to myself? Then write it down, literally. See your language on the page. Did you use words like always, never, everyone, no one, unlucky, or not meant to be? These are red flags. These are the words of learned helplessness, of giving up, of blaming things you cannot control. Now, rewrite it. Take the same event and explain it with clarity, ownership, and honesty. Not to beat yourself up, but to tell the truth in a way that leads you forward. Instead of, I failed because I'm not good enough, say, I failed because I didn't study as much as I could. Now I know what to change next time. Instead of, they didn't like me because I'm awkward, say, that conversation didn't go well because I was nervous. I'll practice more and be better next time. This is how you train your mind to grow, not by lying to yourself, but by telling the truth in a way that keeps the power in your hands. Remember, how you explain your life becomes your life. If your inner language is built on blame, you will stay where you are. If it's built on responsibility, you will evolve. So stop blaming luck. Stop blaming fate. Start looking at what you can control, your effort, your choices, your mindset, your response. That's the Stoic way. Don't let your mind create a story that traps you. Create a story that builds you, one sentence at a time. Because the words you speak to yourself are not just words, they are commands, and your brain is always listening. Number 3, observe the mental narrator, not just the thoughts. We often try to fix our lives by changing our thoughts. We try to think more positively. We try to push away the negative. We try to force ourselves to just be strong or just move on. But what if you're focusing on the wrong thing? What if the real question isn't, what am I thinking? But rather, who is doing the talking inside my head? Because every thought has a voice. Every voice has a tone. And if you listen closely, you'll notice that not all of them sound the same. Sometimes it's calm. Sometimes it's harsh. Sometimes it's scared. Sometimes it's wise. That's because you don't just have one voice in your mind, you have many. And not all of them are helpful. There is a voice that criticizes you, that points out every flaw, that says you're not good enough, not ready, not capable. That voice is not truth. It's your inner critic, a pattern you learned somewhere along the way, maybe from a parent, maybe from a teacher, maybe from a moment where you felt small and unsafe. It became a habit, a narrator. There is another voice that sounds like fear, that wants to hide, that believes people will leave, that assumes everything will go wrong. That voice is your wounded child, a part of you that still lives in the past, still protecting itself from pain that no longer exists, but still feels real. And then, if you're quiet enough, there's another voice. It doesn't shout, it doesn't panic, it doesn't insult, it just observes. It sees clearly, it knows what matters. It speaks from peace, not fear. That is your wise self, the part of you that Stoicism calls your rational mind, the part that can rise above emotion and respond with strength instead of reactivity. The Stoics knew this truth well. They didn't try to silence every thought. They didn't fight the mind. They watched it. They examined it. They asked, is this my higher nature speaking, or something lower? Is this the voice of reason, or the voice of fear? Marcus Aurelius wrote, as if he were two people, the one experiencing emotion and the one observing it. That's the Stoic practice, learning to separate yourself from the storm so you can see it clearly rather than get swept away by it. So the next time you hear a negative thought, don't just react to it. Ask, who is speaking right now? Is this voice trying to protect me or limit me? Does this voice speak with wisdom or with pain? Give that narrator a name. It might sound strange, but it works. When your inner critic starts yelling, say, "That's not me, that's the critic again." When fear rises and tells you to run or hide, say, "That's just the wounded one trying to protect me." The moment you name the voice, you create space. And in that space, you gain power. Because now you're not in the thought. You're watching the thought. You've stepped into awareness. And from that place you can decide, do I want to believe this? Do I want to act from this? Or can I choose a different voice to follow? This is how you break toxic loops. Not by force. Not by pretending they're not there. But by stepping back and seeing clearly, this is just a pattern, a narrator, a voice. But it is not me. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who hears them. And that difference, that tiny bit of distance, is where your freedom lives. So slow down. Listen carefully. And when a thought rises, don't just ask what it says. Ask who sent it. And decide, right there, whether that voice deserves your attention, your energy, and your belief. Because the strongest mind is not the one that silences every doubt. It's the one that knows which voices to ignore. Number 4, use thought-driven identity sculpting. Who do you think you are? Not what's written on your ID, not your job title, not your past mistakes or your achievements. I'm talking about the story you tell yourself when no one's watching. The quiet belief you carry every day about who you are and what you're capable of. Because whether you realize it or not, you're always becoming someone. Every thought you repeat is a brick in the structure of your identity, and over time, that identity becomes your reality. But here's the problem. Most people shape their identity by accident. They define themselves based on their worst moments. They repeat thoughts like, "I've always been anxious," or "I'm not a confident person," or "I'm trying not to be angry anymore." And without knowing it, they keep reinforcing the very identity they want to escape. That's why Stoicism is so powerful. It doesn't just teach you to manage your emotions. It teaches you to become someone else on purpose. Not by pretending, not by forcing, but by choosing thoughts that match the version of yourself you want to build. Instead of thinking, "I'm trying not to lose my temper," think, "I am calm, I am composed, I lead with clarity." Instead of saying, "I hope I don't mess this up again," say, "I act with courage, I learn, I improve." Instead of repeating, "I'm bad at this," choose, "I'm someone who figures things out." This shift may sound small, but it's everything. Because your mind is always listening, and whatever it hears the most, it starts to believe. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, "I'm trying to be less reactive." He wrote to himself as a man already committed to wisdom, justice, self-control, and courage. He reminded himself of who he was becoming, not just what he was trying to fix. That's identity sculpting. It's not about faking perfection. It's about thinking as if the person you want to become is already inside you, and you're letting them lead. Think about it like this. Your current thoughts are carving out the shape of your future self. Every time you think with intention, you're chiseling away what doesn't belong. You're sharpening the edges. You're building a form, stronger, calmer, wiser. And the more consistent your thoughts, the faster the shape appears. But you have to be deliberate. You can't wait until you feel like it. You must choose the identity first, then align your thoughts with it day after day. Let's say you want to be more disciplined. Don't wait for discipline to show up. Begin thinking like a disciplined person right now. Ask, What would a focused, clear-minded person do today? Then do that. Over time, those thoughts lead to choices. Those choices become habits, and the habits reinforce the identity. But the root, always, is the thought. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." But most people do it backward. They try to act better without first thinking better. They try to change behavior without changing belief. You can't build a strong life on weak thoughts, and you can't build a new identity while repeating the same old mental patterns. So start now. Don't just think to solve problems. Think to shape identity. Every time you speak to yourself, ask, is this the voice of who I've been, or who I'm becoming? And choose the second one, every time. You're not trying to become someone new. You're uncovering the version of yourself that's always been there, underneath the doubt, the fear, and the old labels. And you reveal that version not just by what you do, but by how you think. Number 5. Track your emotional wake. After a boat moves through water, it leaves behind a wake, a trail in the surface that shows where it's been. Your thoughts do the same thing. Every thought you have leaves behind something in you. Sometimes it's peace, sometimes it's pressure, sometimes it's clarity, sometimes it's confusion. But the truth is, most people never take time to notice what their thoughts are leaving behind. They just keep thinking, on a loop, worrying, regretting, replaying the same memory, fearing the same outcome. And then they wonder why they feel so heavy, why they're anxious all the time, why they feel stuck, even when nothing has changed around them. But it's not always the world causing that pain. Sometimes it's the thought you just had 5 minutes ago, or the one you've been having every day for the past 5 years. That's why Stoicism calls us to be conscious of the inner effect of our thoughts, not just their logic, not just their words, but what they leave behind in the soul. Marcus Aurelius didn't just write down ideas. He reviewed the mood they left him in. His meditations weren't essays, they were emotional audits, a way to examine not just what he was thinking, but what his thoughts were doing to him. This is where your power begins, not in fighting your thoughts, but in tracking their emotional wake, in asking yourself after a thought, how did that feel? Did that thought give me strength or steal it? Did it bring peace or pressure? Because some thoughts are not just unhelpful, they are mental toxins, and if you let them stay, they will quietly poison your day, your decisions, and your emotional health. A thought that leaves behind guilt every time it visits, that's not wisdom, that's shame in disguise. A thought that keeps you in fear, imagining everything that could go wrong, that's not caution. That's anxiety dressed up as logic. A thought that makes you feel small, stuck, unworthy, that's not truth. That's a memory playing on repeat. And just like you wouldn't eat expired food, you shouldn't keep digesting expired thoughts. You must become your own inner quality control. Not every thought deserves to stay in your mind just because it showed up there. Some thoughts need to be thanked for their warning and then thrown out. This doesn't mean you avoid discomfort. Stoicism is not about running from difficult emotions. It's about being honest, being aware, choosing the thoughts that serve you, not the ones that chain you down. So how do you begin? Start with a journal. At the end of each day, write down the strongest emotion you felt. Trace it back. What thought caused it? What story fed it? What belief allowed it to grow? After a few days, patterns will appear. You'll notice that certain thoughts always lead to regret. Others lead to fear. Others to clarity, to calm, to confidence. Those are the thoughts you keep. The others you challenge, rewrite, or let go. This is not just reflection. This is responsibility. Owning the effect your mind has on your emotions is how you stop being ruled by them. Remember, thoughts are not neutral. They are either building you up or breaking you down. And if you don't pay attention to the emotional trail they leave behind, you'll keep walking through the wreckage wondering why everything feels off. Start tracking your emotional wake today. Not to judge yourself, but to clean the waters you sail through. So the next time a thought leaves guilt, fear, or shame behind, stop and ask, do I really want to carry this with me? If the answer is no, then let it go. Replace it. Just like you would toss out spoiled food from your kitchen, because your mind deserves better, and your peace depends on it. Number 6. Install thought interrupts via uncommon anchors. Have you ever caught yourself in a spiral? One thought leads to another, then another, then another, until your entire mood has shifted. You started with a small concern, and now you're buried in fear, regret, or overthinking. And the worst part? You didn't even realize how far your mind had wandered, until it was too late. This is how the mind works when left unchecked. One small spark can start a wildfire. One bad memory, one sharp comment, one tiny worry can pull you into a loop that runs for hours or days. But it doesn't have to be that way. You have more control than you think. You don't have to follow every thought to the end. You don't have to let your mind drive you. You can interrupt it, pause it, ground it, but only if you train yourself to notice the moment when it starts. That's what Stoics practiced. Awareness and intervention. Not just reflecting after the storm, but noticing it as it forms, and doing something to stop it before it grows. One powerful way to do that? Use uncommon anchors. What's an uncommon anchor? It's a simple, surprising cue. A small object, action, or sound that you train your mind to associate with a grounding thought. Something that breaks the loop. Something that reminds you, I am here, I am aware, I choose peace now. It could be anything. A ringtone you never use for anything else. A bracelet you tap when you notice yourself spiraling. A deep breath you take while touching your chest. A word you whisper under your breath, like stillness or clarity. The key is that it must be deliberate, physical, tangible. Something that brings your awareness back into your body and out of the swirl of your thoughts. Let's say you notice your mind racing. What if this goes wrong? What if I embarrass myself? What if they leave me? That's the spiral. That's the moment. That's where the training begins. Instead of continuing the loop, you touch your anchor. You feel your feet on the ground. You take a breath. You say your phrase, I'm choosing peace now. This thought does not deserve my energy. Stillness is in my control. And just like that, you create space, not a solution. Not a perfect answer, but space. And that space is everything, because in that space you remember who you are. You remember what matters. You remember that not every thought deserves to lead the way. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." But that power only works if you use it in the moment. If you interrupt the storm before it pulls you under, if you choose a better thought before the spiral writes your story for you, so pick your anchor. Something you'll remember, something you'll feel. A ring on your finger, a string around your wrist, a note in your phone with a word you need to hear. Then link it to a phrase that brings you back to center. Practice it daily, not just when you're overwhelmed, but in calm moments too. So when the chaos comes, and it will come, your response is automatic, trained, stoic. You don't need to fight your thoughts. You need to interrupt them. You don't need to erase the emotion. You need to hold it without letting it drive. This is how you take your mind back, not with willpower alone, but with awareness, anchors, and simple, intentional cues. Because one thought can ruin your peace, but one anchor can restore it. So next time your mind starts racing, pause, touch the anchor, breathe, and remind yourself, I don't follow spirals, I return to stillness. Number 7. Challenge social scripts running in your mind. Not every thought in your head belongs to you. Some were planted there, planted by your parents, by teachers, by your culture, by media, by friends who meant well but didn't know better. And over time, you started repeating those thoughts until they felt like truth, until they felt like you. But stop and ask yourself, how many of your beliefs are actually your own? How many times have you thought, success means having a big house, or by this age, I should have done more, or real men don't cry, or I have to look a certain way to be worthy, without ever questioning where those ideas came from? These are social scripts, mental programs that society runs in the background of your mind. They tell you who you should be, how you should act, what your timeline should look like, what's acceptable, what's impressive, what's valuable. But Stoicism teaches you to live according to nature, not according to the noise, according to your reason, your principles, your truth. Marcus Aurelius never said, I need to be more like that other emperor. He said, the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth. You must ask the same thing, because the truth is, the world is loud. It will hand you a script the moment you're born. It will tell you what success is supposed to look like, what kind of life earns respect, what kind of personality is lovable. And unless you pause to question it, you'll spend your whole life chasing a goal that was never yours to begin with. So here's what to do. When you catch yourself in a stressful or repetitive thought, stop and ask one simple question. Who wrote this thought? Was it you, or was it handed to you? Was it shaped by your own values, or shaped by someone else's approval? Is this something that truly matters to you, or something you were taught to want? Because you can't build peace on borrowed beliefs. You can't live with strength while chasing someone else's definition of success. You can't be grounded if you're living by a script that was never meant for you. Start listening to the mental phrases that repeat in your head. I should be further ahead. I'm not successful enough. I'm too quiet. I need to prove myself. I need more followers, more money, more attention. Then dig deeper. Who benefits from that thought? Who does that belief serve? Is it rooted in truth or just tradition? Are you trying to live wisely, or are you just trying not to fall behind in a race you didn't choose? This isn't about rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It's about alignment. It's about living from a center that is truly yours, not from pressure, not from fear, not from someone else's Instagram feed. It's okay to want things, but want them for the right reasons. It's okay to set goals, but set them because they match your principles, not because they make other people applaud. The Stoics weren't flashy. They weren't chasing trends. They were chasing virtue. They were anchored in reason, in meaning, in internal strength. They questioned the crowd. They chose depth over display, purpose over popularity. So the next time you feel like you're behind in life, ask, behind according to whom? The next time you think you should be something, ask, says who? And the next time you feel unworthy, ask, whose standard am I trying to meet? Because the moment you begin to challenge the script, you begin to write a new one, your own. And that's the only kind worth living. Number 8. Treat unwanted thoughts like junk mail. Not every thought in your head deserves your attention. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it's useful. Just because it feels real doesn't mean it is real. Just because it's loud doesn't mean it's wise. Some thoughts are just noise, clutter, junk mail delivered straight to your mental inbox. You didn't ask for it. You didn't create it. It just appeared. I'm a failure. No one really likes me. Nothing ever works out. I'll never be enough. These are the kinds of thoughts that slip in without warning. You're having a normal day, and suddenly your brain delivers something toxic, something cruel, something that makes your heart sink. And if you're like most people, your first reaction is to argue with the thought, to explain why it's wrong, to fight it, to reason with it. But here's the truth. The more energy you give it, the more power it gains. That's why Stoicism teaches something different, something simpler, something far more effective. Don't wrestle with every thought. Don't argue with it. Label it. Then move on. Treat it like spam. When you open your email and see a message that says, "You've won $1 million," or "Urgent, click here to claim your prize," you don't open it and start debating with the sender. You don't reply. You don't panic. You don't ask, "What if it's true?" You delete it. You block it. You unsubscribe. Do the same with your mind. The next time a thought comes in that is clearly unhelpful, clearly toxic, clearly not aligned with your higher self, don't overthink it. Don't take it personally. Don't ask what it means about you. Just say, "That's junk mail." Mentally mark it as spam. Then return to your center. Because not all thoughts are sacred. Not all thoughts deserve to be explored. Many are just echoes, leftover noise from old wounds, past criticism, social conditioning, or emotional habits that no longer serve you. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself over and over, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." That includes thoughts. Just because it enters your mind doesn't mean you need to give it meaning. You are the gatekeeper. You decide what stays. This doesn't mean you ignore your emotions. It means you become wise enough to know which thoughts are worth your energy and which are not. Imagine this. Every time a negative thought shows up, you say to yourself, "That's just junk mail." Unsubscribe. That thought isn't mine to keep. No judgment, no resistance, just calm detachment. And when you respond like that, something amazing happens. The thought loses power. It fades faster. It stops sticking. It's like a message returned to sender. No reply, no reaction, no space to grow. This is the Stoic practice of depersonalization. Seeing the thought as a thought, not the truth. Observing it from the outside. Letting it pass like a cloud in the sky or a wave that rises and falls. So the next time a cruel or anxious thought appears, pause and say, "I didn't order this. I'm not keeping it." Then move on. Return to your breath, to the present, to something useful. Because your mind is not a landfill. It's not meant to hold every scrap of mental junk that passes through it. Protect your inner space like sacred ground. Let only what's true, helpful and strengthening stay. The rest? Junk mail, trash, delete. Number 9. Build cognitive patience through future self-dialogue. Most people live inside a very small mental frame, right now. What feels good now? What feels urgent now? What I want to avoid now? What I fear now? This narrow frame leads to impulsive choices, emotional decisions, and short-term thinking that cost you your long-term peace. And then, later, you look back and wonder, why did I do that? The truth is, many of your worst thoughts don't come from logic. They come from urgency, from discomfort, from the pressure to fix, react, control, or escape, right now. But what if you could step outside of that narrow view? What if you could borrow the wisdom of someone who already lived through your current struggle and made it to the other side? That's where your future self comes in. Your future self is not just an idea, it's a tool, a compass, a wise mentor that lives inside you, but 5 years ahead, stronger, clearer, wiser, someone who already paid the price for your current habits, someone who already felt the weight of your distractions, your procrastination, your emotional impulses, and who can guide you if you're willing to ask. Stoicism teaches us to zoom out, to think in terms of life, not moments, to consider what matters not just now, but later. Marcus Aurelius was always writing to himself in a way that assumed future consequences. He asked himself, will this matter tomorrow, in a week, in 10 years? You must do the same. When your thoughts start racing, when you feel impatient, angry, afraid, or lost, pause. Close your eyes. Picture yourself 5 years from now, calm, strong, grateful, living with purpose, and ask, what would you want me to focus on today? Let the answer come. Maybe it's focus, maybe it's forgiveness, maybe it's silence. Maybe it's a single action that seems small now, but changes everything later. When you listen to your future self, you quiet the noise of now. You gain perspective. You see that most of the things you're worried about today won't matter in the long run, but your choices will. This is how you build cognitive patience. You train your mind to think beyond impulse, to act from vision, not emotion. You remind yourself that discomfort is temporary, but consequences are not. That giving in feels good now, but costs more later. That discipline may be hard today, but brings peace tomorrow. And the more often you check in with your future self, the stronger your mental clarity becomes. This doesn't mean you have to predict the future. It means you start honoring the direction you want to grow. You stop asking, what do I feel like doing? And start asking, what would the future me thank me for? It's a different way of thinking, a higher way. So next time you're tempted to quit early, snap in anger, scroll instead of work, or escape instead of reflect, pause. Ask, if I keep doing this for 5 more years, where will I end up? Then ask, what would my future self want me to do right now? That voice, calm, wise, patient, is the voice you want to follow. That's your compass. That's your inner Stoic, the one who sees beyond the moment. Because the goal isn't just to think better, it's to think longer, to widen your view, to build the kind of mind that sees beyond today's emotion into tomorrow's truth. So start the conversation, not with fear, not with guilt, but with honesty. Hey, future me, I'm listening. What matters today? The answer may be simple, but it will always be the right one. Number 10. Upgrade your metaphorical framework. Your mind speaks in metaphors. Even when you don't notice, your thoughts are shaped by the symbols and comparisons you carry inside. You don't just think in facts, you think in stories, You use language that gives shape to your world, sometimes without even realizing it. You say things like, "Life is a battlefield." "I'm drowning in stress." "I'm carrying a heavy burden." "This is a race I can't win." "I'm stuck in a storm." "I need to armor up." And you may think these are just figures of speech, but they're more than that. They're mental blueprints. Every metaphor you live by changes how you see yourself, others, and your situation. If you say, "Life is a battlefield," then every person might look like an enemy. Every challenge becomes a threat. Every mistake feels like defeat. And slowly, your thoughts become more defensive, more combative, more tense. Because you're not just describing life, you're interpreting it through that lens. But what if you changed the metaphor? What if, instead of a battlefield, life became a garden? In a garden, not everything is urgent. Not everything is life or death. Some things take time. Some seasons are for planting, others for growing. You expect setbacks. You make space for rest. You focus on tending, not fighting. You water what matters. You remove what harms. You let the sun and time do their work, and your thoughts change with it. You begin to think, what can I nurture today? What weeds do I need to pull from my thinking? What needs more light? Where can I be more patient? The metaphor shifts everything. The Stoics knew this power well. Marcus Aurelius often compared life to a play, where you don't get to choose the script, but you do get to choose how well you perform your role. Epictetus used the image of an archer. Your job is to aim well, not to control the outcome. Why did they do this? Because metaphors shape mental framing, and mental framing shapes behavior. So, here's the question. What metaphors are you living by? Are they helping you or hurting you? When you say you're carrying a heavy burden, ask yourself, what if you're actually growing stronger through pressure? When you say you're stuck, ask, what if you're actually in a cocoon, not a cage? When you say, I'm running out of time, ask, what if you're planting for the long game? The metaphor isn't just poetic, it's practical, because your brain responds to imagery, and the images you repeat to yourself create your emotional atmosphere. If you live in the language of war, don't be surprised if your mind always feels tense. If you speak the language of lack, don't be surprised if your mind always feels empty. But if you train your thoughts in the language of growth, of balance, of seasons, your mind will learn to breathe again. So today, pause. Listen to the way you describe your life, your journey, your emotions. Ask, what metaphor have I been living by? And more importantly, what new metaphor could guide me forward? You don't have to force it. Just pick one that speaks to where you want to grow. Maybe life is a garden. Maybe life is a classroom. Maybe life is a mountain climb. Maybe life is a river. You don't control the current, but you learn how to move with it. Whatever you choose, let it be one that brings strength, not stress. One that calms your mind instead of triggering it. One that reminds you you are not stuck. You are being shaped. Because in the end, how you describe life becomes how you experience it. So choose your metaphors like you choose your thoughts, intentionally, wisely, and with the future in mind. Number 11. Use thought minimalism to declutter mental bandwidth. Your mind has limits, not limits in strength or potential, but in space, in energy, in focus. And just like a physical room can be filled with clutter, so can your thoughts. You wake up and your brain is already running. What should I wear? Did that message mean something? What if I mess up today? Should I do this or that? Why am I behind in life? What do they think of me? By noon, you're exhausted, not because you did too much, but because you thought too much. This is where thought minimalism becomes essential. Minimalism isn't just about having fewer things. It's about creating space for what matters. And that principle applies directly to your mind. You don't need to think about everything. You don't need to have an opinion about everything. You don't need to argue with every thought that shows up. You don't need to make 100 small decisions that drain your energy before the real work begins. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't fill their minds with gossip, with overanalysis, with emotional clutter. They focused on clarity, purpose, virtue, what's in their control, and nothing more. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself often, if you seek tranquility, do less, or more precisely, do what's essential, because doing less, better, leads to peace. The same goes for your thinking. So how do you practice cognitive simplicity? Start by treating your mental space like real estate. Limited, valuable. You wouldn't fill your home with junk you never use, so why fill your mind with repetitive worries, overthinking, and useless opinions? Here's how you begin. Reduce small decisions. Wear the same kind of outfit. Eat the same basic breakfast. Structure your mornings the same way. Simplicity in the small things creates space for bigger things. Don't argue with every thought. Not every idea needs a debate. Not every emotion needs a response. Some thoughts are just passing noise. Let them pass. Limit your inner commentary. You don't need to narrate your day in your head like a movie script. You don't need to label everything that happens as good or bad. Sometimes things just are. Cut back on opinions, especially about things you can't control. Politics, drama, other people's lives, most of it is distraction. The more you weigh your mind down with commentary, the less space you have for focus, growth, and peace. Choose your focus for the day, then protect it. Wake up and ask, what's essential today? Then filter every other thought through that lens. If it doesn't serve your purpose, let it go. This is not about being cold or passive. It's about being deliberate, about clearing out the mental clutter so your thoughts can breathe, so your focus can sharpen, so your energy isn't wasted on things that do nothing for your future self. Thought minimalism creates mental stillness, and from stillness comes clarity, direction, power. Imagine your mind like a quiet room with one candle in the center. That's the goal, not flashing lights everywhere, not 10 conversations at once, just space, just focus, just light. That's where great thinking happens. That's where calm lives. So today, take inventory. Ask yourself, what thoughts are taking up too much space? What can I release, ignore, or simplify? Then do it, quietly, without drama. Your mind doesn't need more stimulation, it needs more space, because the less you carry, the further you go. And in that empty space, you'll find what truly matters: peace, purpose, and vision. Number 12. Decode and recode generational thought patterns. Some of the thoughts in your mind were never yours to begin with. They didn't come from your own experience. They weren't shaped by truth. They were passed down, spoken or unspoken, from your family, your culture, your upbringing. These are legacy beliefs, and without realizing it, you may be living your entire life under their weight. You think, I'm not good with money. But maybe that belief came from hearing money is evil, or people like us never have enough. You think, I shouldn't cry or talk about emotions, but maybe that's because you were raised hearing men don't cry or toughen up. You think, I have to put everyone else first. But maybe that belief was passed to you through years of watching someone in your home give everything and never ask for help. These thoughts aren't just random, they're inherited, and if you don't pause to examine them, they will quietly shape every part of your life. This is where Stoic awareness must meet emotional honesty. Marcus Aurelius didn't just reflect on the present, he examined where his values came from. He wrote about what he learned from his father, his mother, his mentors. Then he chose which of those lessons to keep and which to grow beyond. You must do the same. Because not all inherited beliefs are wise. Some are built on fear, some on trauma, some on survival. Some were useful in the past, but are harmful in the present. So how do you begin to decode and recode? Start by listening for patterns. Catch the beliefs that repeat when you're under stress, shame, or fear. Then ask yourself, where did I learn this? Did someone in my family believe this too? Is this actually true or just familiar? When you find a belief that feels inherited, write it down. Literally, name it. For example, inherited belief. Talking about emotions is weakness. New truth statement. Vulnerability, when chosen with wisdom, is strength. Or, inherited belief. Money makes people greedy. New truth statement. Money is a tool. Its effect depends on how I choose to use it. This is how you begin to recode. You don't just reject the old thought, you replace it with something stronger, clearer, wiser, something you choose. Think of your mind like a computer. Some programs were installed by others long before you knew how to protect your system. But now, you're the programmer. You can remove what's outdated. You can write new code. This isn't about blaming your family or culture. It's about breaking unconscious cycles. Maybe your parents did the best they could. Maybe their beliefs helped them survive. But survival thinking isn't always healthy thinking. And if you want to grow beyond survival, you have to think beyond inheritance. You can love your roots and still pull the weeds. You can respect where you came from and still choose a new direction. Because your thoughts shape your future. And your future should be built on truth, not fear passed down like a family heirloom. So start now. Ask, which thoughts in my mind don't feel like mine? Which beliefs do I want to carry forward, and which ones end with me? This is the work of mental strength, quiet, brave, generational. You're not just thinking for yourself. You're clearing space for the next version of you, the version who leads, not just reacts, the version who lives from clarity, not legacy. Remember, inheritance is automatic. Awareness is intentional. You didn't choose the beliefs you were handed, but you do get to choose which ones you keep. Number 13. Tune your inner soundtrack with thought-based mood engineering. Every day your mind plays a soundtrack. You might not hear it out loud, but it's always running in the background. It sets the mood. It shapes your emotions. It decides the rhythm of your day, whether you feel calm or chaotic, focused or foggy, powerful or powerless. And here's the truth. That soundtrack is built by your thoughts. If you start the day with anxiety, the music is fast and messy. If you start with regret, the tone is low and heavy. If you start with intentional, empowering thoughts, the rhythm is steady, clear, strong. That's why Stoics didn't leave their mental state to chance. They engineered it. They shaped their mindset before the world could shape it for them. Marcus Aurelius opened each morning with reflection. He reminded himself of who he was, what mattered, and how to stay calm no matter what came his way. He was tuning his emotional state like an instrument, on purpose. You can do the same. This is mood engineering, not with music, but with thoughts. Start by understanding this. Your mind takes cues from your thoughts, the same way your body takes cues from sound. Just like a sad song can make you emotional, a negative thought can lower your energy. Just like an upbeat track can lift your spirit, a clear, powerful thought can set the tone for the whole day. So instead of letting your thoughts wander, build a mental playlist. In the morning, before you check your phone, before the noise of the world gets in, press play on your own internal soundtrack. Repeat phrases like, "I am equipped for what's ahead." "I don't need to control everything to be at peace." "I choose clarity over chaos." "I am here to lead, not react." "Today, I respond with intention." These aren't empty affirmations. These are anchors. Intentional thoughts that shape emotional tone, not because they change your circumstances, but because they change the way you meet them. Let these thoughts run in the background of your mind while you move through your morning. Let them replace the mental noise of stress, doubt, and distraction. You're not ignoring problems. You're tuning yourself so you can face them better. Just like a warrior sharpens their sword before battle, you sharpen your mindset before you step into the day. This practice doesn't need to take long. 2 minutes, 5 phrases. That's enough to shift the entire mood of your inner world. Because if you don't choose your thoughts, the world will choose them for you. Social media, headlines, emails, expectations, they'll all flood your mind with noise the moment you open the door. And if your soundtrack isn't already tuned, you'll get swept into someone else's rhythm. But not you, not anymore. You're building your own score, your own tone, your own internal music. And every time you catch your mood slipping, pause. Don't try to fix your emotions. Go back to the source. Ask, what thought is playing right now? Is this the mood I want to live in? What track do I need to switch to? Then choose again, because moods are not random. They are engineered, and your thoughts are the tools. So start each day not with noise but with notes, clear, chosen, grounded. Let your first thoughts be your strongest ones, and let them echo all day long like the beat of a drum behind everything you do. Number 14. Use silent rehearsals to reshape future behavior. Most people wait for life to happen before they decide how to respond. They walk into stressful situations without preparation. They rely on hope, instinct, or emotion to guide them. And when they react poorly, snapping in anger, shrinking in fear, freezing in doubt, they tell themselves, "Next time, I'll do better." But Stoicism teaches us something deeper. You don't rise to the level of your intentions, you fall to the level of your preparation. If you want to act with clarity under pressure, you must practice before the pressure shows up. This is where silent rehearsal becomes one of your greatest mental tools. Silent rehearsal means imagining a moment before it happens, and rehearsing how you'll respond with intention, not impulse. It means mentally walking through the scenario, step by step, and choosing your thoughts before reality gives you the chance. It's not pretending, it's not controlling the future, it's pre-living it, with wisdom. Let's say you have a difficult meeting tomorrow. You know someone might challenge you. You know tension might rise. You have 2 choices. Wait and hope for the best. Or rehearse now how you'll respond. Calm, clear, grounded. You close your eyes. You see the room. You hear their words. You feel the emotion rise in your chest. And instead of reacting with heat or fear, you mentally respond with strength. I will not be pulled out of my character. I will speak with clarity, not ego. This moment does not get to control me. And just like that, You've rehearsed your identity. You've told your nervous system what to expect. You've created a mental pathway for poise, not panic. You've chosen your script in advance. This is not wishful thinking, it's neurotraining. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between real experience and deeply imagined experience. When you visualize with focus, you're already laying down the mental wiring for who you want to become. Marcus Aurelius did this every morning. He didn't just plan his tasks. He anticipated difficulty. He rehearsed how to meet rudeness with patience, crisis with control, offense with inner stability. He mentally prepared so he wouldn't be surprised and therefore wouldn't be shaken. You can do the same every day. Before the conversation, before the deadline, before the temptation to scroll, avoid, or give up. Rehearse. You already do it, but often in reverse. You play out worst-case scenarios. You imagine failure. You visualize embarrassment. That's rehearsal too, but for the outcome you don't want. Stoicism flips the script. It asks, why not rehearse strength? Why not pre-train the mind to be who you want to be when it matters most? Silent rehearsals don't take much time. A few minutes of clear visualization is enough. The key is intentionality. Feel the emotion, then practice keeping your posture. Practice the tone of your voice. Practice your breath. Practice the sentence that brings you back to center. This is what elite athletes, stoic leaders, and focused creators all do. They live the moment before it arrives. So tomorrow, when the pressure hits, you won't be improvising. You'll be stepping into a role you've already practiced, a state you've already prepared, a mindset that's already been lived, silently but powerfully. Because the person who prepares in thought is the person who performs with grace. So start now. Ask, what challenge is ahead of me? How do I want to meet it? Who do I want to be in that moment? Then close your eyes, breathe, rehearse it, silently, strongly, stoically. Number 15. Develop a personal philosophy of thought responsibility. Your mind is a garden. Every thought you entertain is a seed. Some grow into strength, some into fear, some into clarity, some into confusion. And if you're not careful, if you don't choose with intention, you will wake up one day surrounded by weeds you never meant to plant. This is why you need a personal philosophy of thought responsibility. A code, a standard, a quiet rule you live by, even when no one's watching. Something like, every thought I nurture is a seed I plant in my reality. Because that's exactly what's happening. Whether you see it or not, the thoughts you give your energy to shape your emotions, shape your actions, and shape the quality of your life. You are not just a thinker, you are a curator, a builder, a cultivator. And once you understand that, everything changes. Most people treat their minds like open land. Anything can come in, any thought can stay, any fear, any memory, any voice, any opinion. They don't question it, they just let it take root. And over time, those thoughts grow. They multiply. They create moods, patterns, beliefs, and behaviors. And because no one taught them otherwise, they think, this is just who I am. But it's not. You are not your weeds. You are the one who can clear them. That's what a personal thought ethic does. It reminds you that you are responsible for what you allow to grow inside you. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, what you think, you become. So the question becomes, what are you becoming? And are your thoughts helping you get there? When you adopt a personal code, you no longer let every thought stay just because it showed up. You ask, Is this thought helping me grow? Would I give this thought to someone I love? If this thought becomes my reality, would I be proud of it? And if the answer is no, you let it go. You choose something better, something wiser, something aligned with who you want to become. You stop being a passive consumer of mental content. You become a conscious curator of your inner world. This doesn't mean you never have negative thoughts. It means you don't feed them. You don't water them. You don't build your identity around them. It's okay to notice fear, but don't give it a bed to sleep in. It's okay to remember pain, but don't replay it on a loop. It's okay to question yourself, but don't let doubt drive the story. You can feel everything, but you don't have to follow everything. This is maturity. This is discipline. This is thought responsibility. So make this your ethic, your quiet promise, your invisible oath. Every thought I nurture is a seed, and I only grow what I want more of in my life. Peace, wisdom, courage, stillness, direction, purpose. That's the garden you're here to build. Let others fill their minds with noise. Let others be ruled by thoughts they never questioned. Not you. You are the gardener, the curator, the Stoic. And from this day forward, your thoughts are no longer random. They are chosen. Intentionally, quietly, powerfully, because you know that what you think is who you become. Your life doesn't change when the world changes. It changes when your thinking does. These 15 lessons were not just ideas, they were tools. Tools to help you stop reacting and start rebuilding from the inside out. You've learned to wake up with purpose, to track your emotions, to interrupt toxic loops, to decode inherited beliefs, to tune your mental soundtrack, to rehearse strength before the moment comes, to plant only the thoughts you want to grow. This is what it means to live like a Stoic, not cold, not rigid, but intentional, focused, free. And now the question is not, did you watch? It's, what will you do with what you now know? Now it's your turn. Drop a comment and finish this sentence. Starting today, I take responsibility for my thoughts by, let the world see your commitment. Let yourself see it in writing. That one sentence may be the first step to becoming the version of you that's been waiting. And if this hit you deeply, subscribe. Not for more noise, but for more clarity. Because the next video won't just feed your mind, it will train it. Have you ever experienced the feeling of being constantly overlooked, even when you put forth your best effort? Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly attract attention, while others silently struggle to be noticed? Today, we are going to explore 9 powerful psychological strategies, all rooted in Stoic teachings that once understood and applied can elevate your influence and help you become a priority in any situation. If this is your first time on my channel, I ask for your support by subscribing and liking this video, as it helps me continue to create more content like this in the future. Among these strategies, there is one that stands out for its subtle yet profound impact, a tool that you may have unknowingly used yourself. Through the lens of Stoic philosophy, you will not only gain a deeper understanding of human psychology, but also learn how to transform the dynamics in your encounters, even in ordinary everyday situations. I encourage you to stay with me until the end of this journey, because each strategy, each piece of this puzzle, complements the next. If you miss any of these elements, you risk missing the complete picture that they form together. If you share my passion for personal growth, please take a moment to click on the notification bell and subscribe. This commitment is essential, as the strategies we discuss here should be seen as tools to understand human behavior and navigate the complexities of social interactions in an ethical manner. These techniques aim to increase influence and awareness, allowing you not only to comprehend the subtleties of the human mind, but also to use that understanding to guide your actions and shape your relationships with others. Now, are you ready to uncover what has been hidden in plain sight? Together, let's decipher the secrets and strategies that have been operating in the shadows, waiting to be illuminated by the power of understanding. The first strategy centers on mastering emotions. Every individual, regardless of age or background, is influenced by emotions to some extent. They shape our actions, reactions, and interactions. However, few people have truly learned to master the art of understanding and subtly influencing emotions, not just within themselves, but also in others. This mastery, once attained, can position you as an essential figure in any social setting. It's well known that people are naturally drawn to stability, particularly emotional stability. And Stoicism teaches us the value of remaining calm, composed, and rational in situations where others might falter. When you demonstrate the ability to stay steady in the face of adversity, you instantly stand out, like an anchor in a stormy sea. Others will naturally seek your guidance, placing you on a pedestal. However, remember that this is not about suppressing emotions, but about understanding and channeling them effectively. As Epictetus once said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This is the essence of this strategy. By demonstrating control over your reactions, you inspire trust and confidence in others. You also gain the ability to subtly guide the emotions of those around you. If your calm words can soothe someone's anger, or if your empathetic sadness brings comfort to someone in pain, you become a lighthouse, drawing others to you. But this power is not a mere game. It is a responsibility that must be handled with care. There is a deeper level to this beyond simply radiating calmness. To truly excel, you must learn to read the emotional currents of any room, recognize unspoken feelings and respond to them. When you do this, you'll see how people become more receptive to you, not because you are manipulating them, but because you are genuinely understanding and connecting with their true essence. Now, with this understanding of emotions in your grasp, only one more strategy remains. Can you guess what it is? You might have been using it without even realizing it. The power of disengagement, or the ability to walk away when necessary. There is a subtle force in the act of moving away from a situation when it calls for it. This is not a sign of cowardice or indifference. It is a demonstration of self-worth and recognition of your own value. When you trust in your worth, stepping away from a situation becomes a choice, not a reaction. Many people associate attachment with care and commitment, but attachment can easily become a chain that keeps you bound to situations and people who do not appreciate you. Always being available, always giving, can diminish the value of what you offer. Others may begin to take your presence and contributions for granted. When this happens, the balance is disrupted and you risk becoming undervalued. It is not about playing hard to get, but about making yourself unforgettable. As Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has little, but he who yearns for more, who is truly poor." The willingness to step away from a situation is embracing the essence of this wisdom. It involves recognizing that there is power in self-respect and autonomy. When people sense that you are not bound by need or desperation, they start seeing you differently. They begin to understand that your time, your skills, or even your company, is a privilege and not something they are entitled to. By mastering this strategy, you show the world that your presence is a gift, one that can be taken away at any moment. Paradoxically, by demonstrating that you can walk away, many will now desire you, seeing in that strength something rare. In a world where holding on is the norm, your detachment becomes your crown. Applying these strategies brings a host of benefits. When implemented correctly, they can elevate your influence, strengthen your relationships, and place you in a position where people not only prioritize you, but also genuinely value your company. However, it is important to be cautious. As Stoics, these tactics should serve as tools for influence when necessary, not as mechanisms for manipulation or attention-seeking. Authenticity and integrity are crucial in using these strategies. Without these, not only would the approach be ethically questionable, but it could also be counterproductive in the long run. Now let's consider the principle of reciprocity. Think about the last time a small gesture brightened your day, a surprise coffee from a colleague, a kind word from a friend, or an unexpected compliment. These seemingly trivial actions often leave a lasting impression because they touch on a powerful force in our human nature: reciprocity. This is the internal impulse that drives us to give back when someone shows us kindness beyond what is expected. Recognizing and harnessing this force can transform the way people perceive you and how they relate to you. As the philosopher Seneca once said, "While we teach, we learn." This perfectly captures the essence of reciprocity. By offering value, ideas, or even small favors without expecting anything in return, you sow seeds of goodwill. Over time, these seeds grow into relationships where people are inclined to support you, help you, and prioritize your needs. They may not even fully understand why they feel compelled to reciprocate, but there is an invisible bond created by genuine generosity. However, this strategy must be handled carefully. There is a fine line between genuine acts of kindness and manipulation. The key is sincerity. When you offer help or share knowledge selflessly, people will recognize your authenticity. When they sense that your intentions are genuine, the ties of reciprocity become stronger. On the other hand, if they detect hidden motives, trust is eroded and the connection will fade. As you reflect on this principle, be ready for the next strategy, which invites you to look inward, a place that is often overlooked but immensely powerful. Mastering persuasive storytelling is a strategy that many overlook. Have you ever struggled to express your point of view and wondered why some ideas stick in people's minds while others fade into obscurity despite their merit? The answer may be simpler than you think: storytelling. Before technology, before modern education, and even before written language, there was storytelling. From ancient bonfires to today's viral videos, stories have been the unseen force that shapes opinions, drives actions, and changes minds. Epicurus wisely pointed out that men are disturbed not by the things that happen to them, but by the way they perceive them. It all comes down to perception. When you frame your message within a story, you offer a lens through which others can interpret the situation, guiding their thoughts and reactions. The beauty of storytelling lies in its ability to make listeners feel as though they are part of the narrative. This evokes empathy and makes your perspective resonate on a personal level. For example, if you're trying to persuade a team to take on a challenging project, instead of listing facts and figures, you could tell a story about how pioneers faced similar obstacles and emerged victorious. By drawing parallels between their struggles and the current task, you show that while the road ahead may be difficult, the rewards, both tangible and intangible, are worth the effort. Suddenly, the project is no longer just another task. It becomes a noble pursuit, and who doesn't want to be the hero in their own story? However, the power of storytelling must be wielded with authenticity. People can tell when a narrative is contrived or when it's simply designed to manipulate. The goal is to find real, genuine connections and emotions. When authenticity is combined with the art of storytelling, it creates an unbeatable combination that ensures your voice is not just heard, but also remembered. But stories are just one piece of the puzzle. Our next strategy explores a principle so deeply embedded in human nature that it can open doors once thought closed. Now, let's discuss the importance of prioritizing yourself. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to command a room without saying a word? Their mere presence demands respect. This magnetism doesn't come from external factors, but from an internal belief in their own value. The cornerstone of influential power lies not in seeking validation from others, but in recognizing your own intrinsic worth. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not external events." Understanding this concept is the key to unlocking your inner strength. When you recognize and nurture your self-worth, you naturally project an aura of self-confidence. This is not about arrogance or an inflated ego, but a genuine appreciation for who you are, your strengths, and your potential. When you value and prioritize yourself, the world begins to reflect that feeling back to you. Self-confidence is not about being arrogant or having an inflated sense of ego. Rather, it is about genuinely valuing and appreciating oneself, recognizing one's strengths, potential, and worth. When you prioritize yourself and understand your inherent value, the world begins to reflect that inner belief. This self-assurance is not about being self-centered or dismissing others, but about achieving balance. Just like the principle of reciprocity, which thrives on genuine gestures of goodwill, true self-love emerges from sincere introspection and self-respect. By investing time and energy in your own well-being, whether through learning, self-care, or setting boundaries, you signal to the world that you are worth this investment. This, in turn, influences how those around you perceive and prioritize you. Prioritizing yourself, therefore, becomes a foundational pillar of power. While influence is a significant part of it, it is only a small piece of the broader psychological strategies at play. As we move forward, another technique that can help you master the emotional fluctuations of relationships comes into focus: transforming adversaries into allies. In a world filled with noise and constant attempts to be heard, the simple, powerful act of truly listening stands out. Every individual, regardless of their background or situation, has a deep need to be understood. In a noisy world, offering someone your undivided attention is not only an act of kindness, but a powerful strategy that differentiates you from others. As the ancient philosopher Epicurus wisely observed, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen twice as much as we speak." This maxim captures the essence of active listening. Many people simply wait for their turn to speak, but a skilled listener goes deeper, engaging with the words, emotions, and hidden intentions behind the speaker's message. By adopting this practice, you become a beacon of trust and respect in a sea of distractions. Offering a safe space for people to express themselves freely not only helps you understand their thoughts and desires, but also fosters an authentic connection. This connection positions you as someone others turn to for guidance and support, which, in turn, gives you significant influence over their lives. Listening authentically ensures that you are not just heard, but that your presence is valued and you are more often prioritized. Creating a sense of scarcity is another potent strategy rooted in human nature. Scarcity taps into an age-old instinct, the attraction to what is rare, elusive, and hard to attain. Just as a rare gem is more valuable than a common stone, people and experiences that are perceived as scarce are often held in higher regard. This doesn't mean playing games or being deceptive. Rather, it is about understanding the intrinsic human appeal of the uncommon. Imagine being in a meeting where everyone is eager to speak and be noticed, and then someone enters, makes a brief yet significant impression, and leaves soon after. The memory of this person lingers in people's minds, far more than the ones who stayed for the entire duration. By not being constantly available, you create an aura of importance around your presence. Every interaction becomes a valuable exchange, a moment that people will remember. Marcus Aurelius once remarked that, "Very little is needed for a happy life. It is all within you, in the way you think." This perspective embodies the concept of scarcity. When you recognize and value your own time, others are more likely to do the same. However, the key is balance. Being too scarce can backfire, just as being too available diminishes your value. The optimal approach is to be present when it counts, making those moments meaningful, and then retreating to focus on your own goals and well-being. Cultivating an air of mystery is another powerful tool in your arsenal. Human beings are naturally drawn to what is unknown, mysterious, and enigmatic. This universal curiosity can be transformed into an asset when you learn to maintain an element of mystery about yourself. It's not about being distant or aloof, but about strategically choosing what to reveal and when. There is a delicate balance between being engaging enough to capture others' attention and preserving just enough intrigue to keep them curious. Marcus Aurelius wisely noted that the goal of life is not to conform to the majority, but to avoid being among the foolish. In a world where oversharing is the norm, embracing a more reserved approach can help you stand out. People will pay attention when you speak and value your opinions more deeply. However, maintaining a sense of mystery does not imply dishonesty or manipulation. Authenticity remains key. It's not about fabricating stories, but rather about mastering the art of timing, revealing just enough to keep others intrigued without oversharing. As others become more curious about you, they naturally begin to prioritize your presence and ideas. This approach isn't just about surprising people, it's about recognizing the subtleties in human actions and strategically using them for your benefit. In essence, cultivating an air of mystery allows you to rise above the noise, becoming an intriguing enigma to those around you. When this strategy is combined with true authenticity, it elevates you to a place where you are not merely noticed, but truly valued. By making others look forward to your actions, you ensure that your presence leaves a lasting impact, and your influence endures long after you have departed from a room. Another effective strategy involves the use of strategic silence. You've likely been in a situation, whether it was a heated debate, a tough negotiation, or even a casual conversation, where the urge to speak up seems overwhelming. Yet sometimes, the most powerful tool you can wield is the choice to remain silent. While silence may be viewed as passive, it can actually be an active force that helps steer the conversation, assert your presence, and command genuine respect. Many people mistakenly believe that power is found in dominating the conversation, but it is often the observer, the one who carefully considers each word and listens attentively, who truly influences the course of events. It's not about being the loudest or the most attention-grabbing. Think of the power of a pause. When you hold back, leaving a gap in the conversation, others begin to feel uneasy or anxious, scrambling to fill the silence. In that moment, they often reveal more than they intended. This gives you the opportunity to respond from a place of wisdom and clarity, as the philosopher Epictetus wisely noted. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. By practicing restraint in your speech, you position yourself as the orchestrator of the dialogue, directing it with precision. However, strategic silence isn't just about listening. It's about knowing when to speak and how to harness the power of your words. Each word you utter carries weight, and you must choose carefully when to speak and when to remain silent, ensuring your words have maximum impact. Words are more than just tools of communication. They have the power to shape perceptions and even alter realities. That said, using silence as a tool requires skill and balance. If you use it too often, it can come across as distant or disengaged. The key is to strike the right balance between active listening and moments of silence, making sure your interactions remain authentic and meaningful. Now, imagine the immense possibilities when you combine strategic silence with another powerful strategy, one that guarantees you won't just be seen, but remembered. By combining these tactics thoughtfully, you position yourself as someone who has both influence and staying power. If you found this video insightful, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Your support lets YouTube know that these kinds of videos are helping people like you, allowing us to create more content like this in the future. I want to talk to you about 10 powerful Stoic habits that, if you truly apply them, have the potential to solve 95% of your life's problems. Yes, that's how transformative they are. Have you ever wondered how some people manage to remain calm, composed, and emotionally grounded even when life throws them into chaos? The secret for many of them lies in Stoicism. This ancient philosophy has helped countless individuals find clarity and inner peace. And here's the good news. It's not reserved for scholars or Roman emperors. Its principles are practical, timeless, and incredibly relevant, no matter what era we live in. Best of all, you don't need a philosophy degree to understand or implement them in your life. Let's begin with one of the most essential foundations of Stoicism: learning to control what you can and accepting what you cannot. This is the first Stoic habit, mastering the dichotomy of control. At its core, this habit teaches us to direct our attention toward what lies within our power, while letting go of the things that don't. Embracing this wisdom can dramatically reshape the way we approach our problems and challenges. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, once said, "It's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." This simple yet profound insight reveals a powerful truth. What often causes us stress isn't the situation itself, but how we interpret it and respond to it. Let's take a common scenario: being stuck in traffic. It's a situation that most of us find frustrating. But think about it. Traffic, in and of itself, doesn't hold any real power over you. The frustration arises from your response to it. Maybe you start panicking about being late or feeling like your time is being wasted. But if you apply the Stoic habit of the dichotomy of control, you'll recognize that the traffic is beyond your influence. What you can control is your reaction to it. You might choose to use that time to listen to a podcast, reflect quietly, practice deep breathing, or simply accept the delay with grace. This habit is so effective because it liberates us from needless stress and frustration. When we stop pouring our energy into things we have no power to change, we free up that energy to improve the things we can control. This shift doesn't just make us more efficient, it makes us calmer, more centered, and emotionally resilient. Like a muscle, this mindset strengthens with practice. The more we commit to managing our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors while accepting external events as they are, the more serene and grounded we become. So, how do you bring this habit into your daily life? Whenever you find yourself caught in a difficult or stressful moment, pause and ask yourself, is this something I can control? If the answer is yes, then consider what specific actions you can take to improve the situation. If the answer is no, then your task is to accept it fully and redirect your focus towards something within your influence. This simple yet profound shift in focus can bring a surprising amount of peace. Let's move on to the next habit in our following message. But for now, take a moment to reflect on the dichotomy of control. Start practicing the art of letting go of what's beyond your reach and anchoring your energy in what you can change. You might be amazed at the calm and power you begin to uncover through this one principle alone. Now let's explore another crucial habit: the practice of mindfulness and being fully present in the moment. This is the second Stoic habit, cultivating awareness of the now. It may sound like a modern trend or something associated with meditation, but the truth is, the Stoics were emphasizing this way of thinking centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius, in his famous Meditations, wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." That line is a gentle yet firm reminder that life only truly happens in the present. The past is gone, and the future isn't here yet. All we ever really have is now. Why is living in the present so important? Because it's the only place where we can truly experience life. When we're present, we're more alive, more connected, and more capable of navigating challenges with clarity and grace. Consider how often your body might be in one place while your mind is elsewhere. Maybe you're at work thinking about a past mistake, or spending time with loved ones, but worrying about what might go wrong tomorrow. When that happens, you're not truly experiencing the moment you're in. You're missing out, not just on the joy, but also on the peace that the present moment offers. Mindfulness helps bring us back. It teaches us to engage fully with what's happening both around us and within us. This doesn't mean we ignore the past or neglect the future. It simply means we don't get trapped in them. We learn to observe, to be aware, and to respond with intention rather than reacting on autopilot. This habit works because it gives us clarity. When we're present, we can see things more clearly, including our own thoughts and emotions. This awareness allows us to make more thoughtful, reflective choices instead of impulsive or emotional ones. Being in the moment also opens us up to appreciating life's simple pleasures, things we often overlook when we're distracted or preoccupied. And that appreciation, in turn, nurtures our happiness and sense of well-being. So, how can you begin to practice mindfulness in your everyday life? Here are a few practical ways to start anchoring yourself in the present. Start with conscious breathing. Take a few minutes each day to simply bring your attention to your breath. Notice the way the air flows in and out of your body. This simple act of awareness can help quiet your mind and bring you back into the present moment. Another helpful practice is observation without judgment. When you find yourself in a situation, try to simply observe it without labeling it or forming an opinion. Just notice what's happening without adding your interpretations or emotional reactions. Bring mindfulness to everyday tasks, whether it's washing dishes, taking a walk, or eating a meal. Do it with your full attention. Feel the water run through your fingers. Be aware of every step you take, or savor each bite of your food. By weaving these small habits into your daily life, you will gradually notice a shift in your ability to stay grounded in the present and find more joy in everyday moments. Now let's explore another foundational Stoic habit: practicing virtue. This is one of the central pillars of Stoic philosophy. In the Stoic sense, virtue means living a life of moral excellence, guided by the four cardinal principles: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. According to the Stoics, virtue is the only true good. They didn't view virtue as a lofty or abstract concept, but as a practical, everyday discipline. To practice virtue is to act with integrity, to do what's right, even when it's inconvenient or challenging, and to live in alignment with your deepest values. Why is the practice of virtue so essential? Because it allows us to live in harmony with ourselves and with others. It gives us an inner compass that helps us navigate difficult decisions and remain firm in our principles. Imagine a situation where someone treats you unfairly. Your first impulse might be to respond with anger or resentment, but that reaction only fuels more conflict and inner turmoil. If you choose instead to act from virtue, you respond with patience, compassion, and understanding. This not only preserves your own peace, but may also shift the situation in a more positive direction. Why is this habit so powerful? Because virtue connects us to the best version of ourselves. It enables us to act from a place of wisdom, courage, and love, rather than from fear, pride, or selfishness. When we live by our values, we feel more authentic and fulfilled. And the effect doesn't stop with us. Virtue tends to have a ripple effect. When we act with moral strength and integrity, we often inspire those around us to do the same. Next, we come to the fourth Stoic habit: reflecting on death, also known as memento mori. At first, this might sound a bit dark or morbid, but in truth, it's a practice that teaches us how to live more deeply and purposefully. Marcus Aurelius said, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." This reflection isn't meant to depress us. It's meant to awaken us. It reminds us that life is fleeting and fragile, and that realization can empower us to make the most of each moment. Why is it important to contemplate death? Because it puts everything into perspective. We often spend so much energy worrying about things that, in the grand scheme of life, don't truly matter. But when we remember that our time here is limited, we become more focused on what actually counts: our relationships, our values, our passions. Picture this. You're in the middle of an argument with a close friend. In that moment, being right might feel extremely important. But if you stop and reflect on the fact that both you and your friend have limited time in this life, you might find the clarity to value the friendship over the disagreement and seek a more peaceful resolution. This habit works because it clears the fog from our minds. It reminds us to prioritize what really matters and to let go of trivial concerns. It helps us make choices that bring genuine meaning and fulfillment. So how can you begin to integrate memento mori into your life? Try setting aside a few minutes each day to reflect on the reality that your time is limited. This doesn't have to be a negative or fearful exercise. In fact, it can become a powerful way to appreciate your life more deeply. Let this reflection bring you back to the present. Use the awareness of death as a call to live fully, cherishing the small moments, expressing love to those who matter, and doing the things that bring your soul to life. Make plans for your future, but don't become consumed by them. Live today as though it's your only day, making space for what ignites your spirit and aligns with your values. By bringing the practice of memento mori into your daily awareness, you'll begin to feel a newfound appreciation for each day. You'll start to live with greater intention, clarity, and presence, focusing more on what truly matters. Our fifth habit focuses on building emotional strength, something the Stoics believed was essential for a balanced and fulfilling life. According to their philosophy, having control over our emotions is not just helpful, it's crucial. Seneca once said, "Difficulty strengthens the mind, as labor does the body." This powerful quote reminds us that challenges aren't merely obstacles, they're opportunities to fortify our inner resilience, much like exercise strengthens our physical form. Facing and overcoming difficulties isn't just about endurance, it's about growth. By doing so, we cultivate the kind of emotional strength that prepares us for whatever life may bring. Why is this emotional strength so important? Because our emotions are like the waves of the ocean, sometimes calm, other times wild and stormy. Learning to navigate them is key. We shouldn't be tossed about by emotional turbulence. Instead, we must learn to surf those waves with skill and steadiness. As Seneca suggested, life's hardships can sharpen the mind the same way physical labor conditions the body. Each difficulty we face becomes a stepping stone, making us not only stronger, but also more prepared for future trials. This habit is effective because emotional strength enables us to remain composed and clear-headed, even in the most difficult circumstances. It teaches us to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. And this doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring how we feel. Instead, it's about understanding our emotions and managing them in a healthy, constructive manner. So how can you begin to build this kind of emotional strength in your everyday life? One important step is learning to recognize your emotions. Awareness is the first key to mastering them. When a strong emotion rises within you, be it anger, fear, or sadness, pause for a moment. Give that feeling a name. Simply identifying what you're feeling can offer clarity and reduce its intensity. Another helpful technique is practicing deep breathing. Deep, intentional breaths are a simple yet powerful way to calm your mind and body. Whenever a strong emotion begins to take control, take a moment to pause and breathe deeply. This can center you and restore a sense of calm. Reflection is equally important. Before reacting to a situation, take a moment to ask yourself, how do I want to respond? What outcome am I hoping for? This brief pause allows you to choose a response that aligns with your values and goals rather than acting on impulse. Try also to see the lessons hidden within your struggles. Instead of treating difficulties as roadblocks, begin to view them as chances to grow and develop. Every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your resilience and increase your capacity to face future adversity. Emotional strength isn't something you develop overnight. It's a lifelong process. But the more you practice these strategies, the easier it becomes to remain calm, thoughtful, and centered, even when life feels chaotic. Now let's move to the sixth Stoic habit: cultivating gratitude. Gratitude is a transformative practice that can shift your entire perspective and significantly increase your sense of happiness. Epictetus once said, He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. This quote underlines the importance of being thankful for what we already have, rather than constantly yearning for what is missing. Why is it so important to practice gratitude? Because when we adopt a grateful mindset, our attention naturally shifts from what's going wrong to what's going right. This change in focus not only improves our mood, but also boosts our emotional and mental well-being. Gratitude teaches us to appreciate the simple joys in life and to stop taking them for granted. Think about a typical day. It's easy to become consumed by stress, complaints, or setbacks. But if you pause and reflect, you'll likely find many things worth appreciating. A warm meal, a kind gesture, or a meaningful conversation. Even the smallest blessings can have a profound impact on how we feel. This habit is effective because gratitude grounds us in the present moment and helps us to value the good that already exists in our lives. It enhances our sense of well-being, fosters satisfaction, and brings a deeper awareness to the richness of our daily experiences. Practicing gratitude consistently can even improve our relationships and make us more resilient when life gets tough. So, how can you begin cultivating gratitude in your daily routine? One approach is to keep a gratitude journal. Each day, write down at least 3 things you're thankful for. They don't have to be grand or life-changing. What matters is that you acknowledge and appreciate them. Another powerful step is expressing your gratitude to others. Take the time to thank the people around you. It can be a simple verbal thank you or a written note expressing your appreciation. Doing so not only strengthens your relationships, but also creates a more positive and supportive environment for everyone involved. Finally, spend a few minutes each day reflecting on the good things in your life. You might find it helpful to do this at the end of the day as a way to close it on a positive note. This habit of grateful reflection can shift your mindset over time and help you notice more of the beauty and joy that surround you. Gratitude is more than a fleeting feeling. It's a daily practice that can dramatically enhance your outlook and happiness. I encourage you to begin integrating these practices into your life and watch how your perspective begins to shift for the better. Now, let's move on to the 7th Stoic habit, keeping life simple. In a world that often glorifies excess and complexity, the practice of simplicity offers a quiet kind of power. The Stoics believed that true peace and clarity are found not in accumulation, but in letting go of what is unnecessary. They taught that it is better to live with little and have peace of mind than to possess much and be burdened by worry. This timeless wisdom serves as a reminder that a cluttered life, whether materially or mentally, can cloud our inner peace. Simplicity allows us to focus on what truly matters, bringing a sense of calm and contentment that can't be found in endless striving. Choosing simplicity doesn't mean living without joy or beauty. It means being intentional about what we allow into our lives. It's about clearing away the noise so we can hear our own thoughts, follow our values, and live with greater purpose. This habit of simplicity is a path to freedom, a freedom from the constant pressure to keep up, to accumulate, to impress. And in that freedom, we discover peace. Having little with peace of mind is far better than having much with worry. This powerful quote reminds us that a fulfilling life doesn't depend on an abundance of possessions, complicated routines, or constant activity. In fact, true happiness often emerges from a life of simplicity. But why is simplicity so important? Because it gives us clarity. Simplicity frees us from unnecessary distractions and noise, allowing us to concentrate on what genuinely matters. It reduces stress and makes room for the things that bring us true joy. Imagine having fewer possessions to maintain and fewer obligations to manage. That kind of lifestyle offers more freedom, more space, and more peace to truly enjoy life. When we strip away the unnecessary, we begin to appreciate what we do have even more deeply. This is why the habit of embracing simplicity works so well. It removes the clutter from our lives and minds, helping us focus on our values and priorities. It lets us live with intention, which not only eases stress, but significantly boosts our sense of satisfaction and inner peace. So how can you begin living more simply in your daily life? Start by regularly decluttering your belongings. Let go of anything that doesn't serve a purpose or bring you joy. Keep only what is useful or truly meaningful to you. Simplify your schedule as well. Take a closer look at your commitments and release the ones that aren't truly necessary. Learn to say no to things that don't align with your values. Focus on what truly matters. Identify your priorities and invest more of your time and energy in them. Let go of distractions and tasks that don't contribute to your well-being. Keeping life simple is a habit that brings clarity, peace, and freedom. I encourage you to begin simplifying and observe how much lighter and happier your life can become. Now let's move on to the 8th Stoic habit, the practice of self-discipline. Self-discipline is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy because it keeps us aligned with our values and goals. It helps us remain on the right path, regardless of external temptations or inner impulses. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This quote captures the essence of self-discipline. It is through mastering ourselves that we attain real freedom. When we have control over our thoughts and actions, we're able to make deliberate choices that reflect who we truly want to be. Practicing self-discipline is important because it allows us to resist temptations and distractions that can derail our progress. It helps us maintain focus and persevere even when challenges arise. Think about someone trying to improve their health. Without self-discipline, it's easy to indulge in unhealthy foods or skip workouts. But with discipline, that person can stay committed to their health goals even when it's tough or inconvenient. This habit is effective because self-discipline gives us authority over our decisions. It enables us to act in ways that reflect our long-term values rather than our short-term impulses. The result is a deeper sense of satisfaction and a greater chance of achieving success over time. So how can you cultivate self-discipline in your everyday life? Begin by setting clear goals. Define what you want to accomplish and break it down into achievable steps. This gives you a sense of direction and a clear target to aim for. Next, build routines and habits that support your goals. For instance, if you want to improve your health, set a regular workout schedule and plan your meals ahead of time. Keep track of your progress. Monitoring your achievements can keep you motivated and help you adjust your approach when needed. Practicing self-discipline is a life-changing habit that can help you reach your potential and fulfill your goals. Start weaving these strategies into your daily routine and notice the powerful difference they can make. Now we move to the 9th Stoic habit. Embrace resilience. Resilience is the strength to recover from hardship and continue forward with courage and determination. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The rock is struck and remains. The hammer is worn by it." This quote beautifully illustrates the nature of resilience. Like the rock that endures the repeated blows of the hammer, we too must learn to stay strong in the face of life's challenges. Embracing resilience is vital because life is full of difficulties and unexpected events. Without resilience, it's easy to become overwhelmed or discouraged when things go wrong. But when we develop resilience, we're able to face life's storms with inner strength. Think of a tree caught in a violent wind. Its branches may bend or even break, but the tree remains standing. In the same way, resilient people withstand adversity and continue to grow, even when shaken by life's hardships. This habit works because resilience provides the strength and determination to keep going. It helps us reframe challenges as opportunities for learning and personal growth. Resilience also equips us to deal with setbacks without losing hope or direction. It empowers us to bounce back, often stronger than before. Embracing resilience doesn't mean avoiding pain. It means enduring it with grace and using it as a stepping stone. Life will test you, but with resilience, you can rise above every setback. Keep pressing forward, knowing that every storm you survive builds your strength. Moreover, resilience empowers us to maintain a hopeful and optimistic outlook even in the midst of hardships. It helps us approach adversity not with despair, but with a sense of possibility. So, how can you begin to cultivate resilience in your everyday life? One powerful way is to foster a positive mindset. Keeping a positive attitude and deliberately looking for the silver lining in every situation allows you to view challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities for growth and learning. Another essential step is to strengthen your relationships. Surround yourself with people who uplift, support, and encourage you. Meaningful connections with others can provide the emotional strength you need when facing tough times. These relationships act as a safety net, offering comfort, motivation, and perspective during moments of hardship. Equally important is taking care of yourself. Prioritize your physical and emotional well-being. Eat nourishing foods, engage in regular physical activity, and ensure you give yourself enough time to rest and recharge. Caring for your body and mind builds the foundation for emotional strength and resilience. Embracing resilience as a way of life enables you to face adversity with courage and determination. I encourage you to begin practicing these strategies and observe how they influence your ability to navigate life's difficulties with greater strength and resolve. Now let's move on to Stoic Habit 10. Act with purpose. The 10th Stoic habit centers around the principle of acting with clear intention. The Stoics firmly believed that every action we take should be deliberate and rooted in our deepest values. Seneca captures this idea powerfully when he says that life is like a play. It's not about how long it lasts, but how well it's performed. This quote reminds us that the length of our life is less important than the quality and purpose with which we live it. Why is it so important to act with purpose? Because when our actions are guided by our values and aligned with our goals, we live more meaningfully and authentically. Living with purpose allows us to make the most of our time and energy, giving our life a clear direction. Picture yourself steering a ship. Without a clear destination, you risk drifting aimlessly, wasting valuable time and effort. But if you have a clear destination and every action you take moves you closer to it, your journey becomes not only more efficient, but also more fulfilling. This habit is powerful because acting with purpose brings focus and clarity. It helps us to prioritize our time, our energy, and our efforts. It also enables us to make wiser choices, consistently moving us closer to the life we want to build. Living in alignment with our values gives us a deep sense of integrity and inner peace, reinforcing our sense of purpose. So how can you begin to act with purpose in your daily life? Start by taking time to identify and define your core values and personal goals. Reflect on what truly matters to you. When you are clear about what you value and what you hope to achieve, you naturally gain a sense of direction and meaning. Align your everyday actions with these values and goals. Before making a decision or taking an action, ask yourself, does this move me closer to where I want to be? It is also helpful to regularly evaluate and adjust your course. Take time to check in with yourself, review your progress, and make changes when needed. This consistent reflection ensures that you remain on the right path and can adapt when circumstances change. Acting with purpose is a transformative habit. It can help you reach your goals more efficiently and lead a life that feels more authentic and intentional. I encourage you to begin incorporating these strategies into your routine and watch how your focus, motivation, and overall fulfillment begin to shift in positive ways. We'll continue with the final Stoic habit in the next message. But for now, begin taking intentional actions and notice how they shape your ability to achieve your goals and live a more meaningful life. Let's be honest, your life is filled with things that no longer serve you. These things not only hinder your growth, but also drain your energy. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you continue to carry them? Sometimes, the most powerful act of rebellion isn't making a scene, but silently letting go of everything that weighs you down, whether it's toxic relationships or self-destructive habits. And no, you don't need to make a spectacle of it or wait for anyone's approval. In today's video, I'll guide you on how to adopt the principles of Stoic philosophy and apply them to eliminate what you can't control, freeing yourself from burdens that only hold you back. Life is too short to remain trapped by the expectations of others. I'll show you, step by step, how to let go of 10 things that are making your life chaotic. Not only physically, but mentally as well. These things are destroying you faster than you realize, and once you eliminate them, you will feel a weight lifted from your soul. It'll leave you speechless. So, start today in silence, without any excuses. Ultimately, what you choose to leave behind will say more about who you are than anything you try to hold on to. Are you ready to truly start living? But before we dive in, let me share a story that will help you understand the wisdom behind this concept. In a remote village by the sea, there lived a young fisherman named Eleanor. She was renowned for her skill in navigating the most treacherous waters and her ability to catch fish even on the most difficult days. However, over the years, Eleanor had accumulated a large collection of broken nets and tools that she no longer used, but kept out of sheer habit. Despite this, every time she set out to sea, her small boat was cluttered with objects that hindered her work. One day, as she was preparing for a long day on the ocean, a powerful storm hit. The waves battered her boat, and Eleanor realized that the excess of items she carried was making it difficult for her to maneuver. She fought the storm for hours, but felt that the real enemy wasn't just the waves, it was the unnecessary burden she had been carrying. In a moment of clarity, Eleanor made the difficult yet necessary decision to throw overboard what was no longer useful. She started with the broken nets, then discarded the old frayed ropes, and even let go of some personal items she had kept out of attachment, though they served her no purpose. With every item she cast into the sea, her boat became lighter, and she was able to navigate the storm more effectively. The waves continued to rage, but Eleanor no longer felt trapped by the weight of her past. Eventually, the storm subsided. and she was able to return to the harbor, exhausted but safe. Her fellow fishermen, amazed by her survival, asked how she managed to make it through the storm. With a calm smile, Eleanor replied, "There are times in life when we cling to things we don't need, objects, memories, or people, that only add weight to our journey. Only when we decide to let go of the unnecessary in silence, without drama, do we find the freedom to move forward with ease." The moral of this story is clear. There are many things in life that we must silently eliminate in order to continue. Often, the load we carry prevents us from navigating with ease. Only by letting go can we discover our true path. Before we dive into the first lesson, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future videos. Let's begin. Fear of what others think. Have you ever realized how many decisions you've made simply out of fear of what others might think? That fear is like a silent presence that clings to you, preventing you from being your authentic self. It's as if you're living on a stage, constantly under the scrutiny of an audience that, in reality, is far too preoccupied with their own insecurities to pay attention to you. But still, you find yourself paralyzed by the fear of judgment. This fear is one of those quiet parasites that attach themselves to your dreams, feeding on your hopes and whispering in your ear whenever you contemplate doing something different or daring. What will they think? It asks, and suddenly you shift your course, adapting your life to what you believe others want from you. It's ironic that we spend so much time worrying about the opinions of others, to the point that we stop living the life we truly desire. This fear pushes us to please people we don't even have close relationships with, as if our internal compass were malfunctioning. Instead of following the true direction of our hearts, we blindly follow society's expectations. We wear masks that fit the roles we think we're supposed to play at work, with friends, or even on social media. But where is the real you beneath all those layers of false smiles and borrowed opinions? The fear of judgment can be subtle, often disguised as prudence. It's not the right time, or maybe I'm not good enough. These excuses are just the same fear wearing a mask. Meanwhile, your dreams gather dust, waiting for a better time that never seems to come. To finally rid yourself of this fear, you need to embrace Stoic philosophy. The Stoics teach us that while we cannot control what others think of us, we can control how we react to their thoughts. This sounds simple, but it's not. It requires constant introspection and courage to learn how to live for yourself, to make decisions because they bring you joy, not because they meet someone else's expectations. Life is too short to live under the shadow of other people's opinions. A good starting point is to begin eliminating the things in your life that don't add value, those things you're keeping only to please others. Start with small decisions. Say no to things that don't bring you fulfillment. Do something you've always wanted to do, but were too afraid to because of what others might think. These small actions will gradually free you. I won't lie to you. It's not easy. There will be days when the weight of other people's judgment feels overwhelming. But on those days, remind yourself that every time you choose to live for the approval of others, you lose a piece of who you truly are. It's a slow, silent death of your true self that you can avoid if you have the courage to be authentic. So, begin eliminating those things quietly. There's no need for grand announcements. Just let go of what doesn't belong to you, trust your own judgment, and value what you think of yourself more than what others may think. At the end of the day, the only person you need to answer to is you. As Carl Jung said, freedom begins the moment you stop worrying about what others think of you. Toxic relationships. There's a phrase I love. The worst blind person is the one who refuses to see. I'm sure you've heard it, and it's especially true when we apply selective blindness to our relationships. We get used to dealing with people who, in some way, subtract from our well-being rather than adding to it. Yes, I'm talking about toxic relationships. These relationships slowly drain your energy, often without you even realizing it. And the worst part is, sometimes you cling to them as though they are irreplaceable. I'm not just referring to romantic relationships. These toxic dynamics can exist anywhere, with family, friends, or even colleagues. The strange thing is that no one forces you to maintain these relationships, yet you tolerate them in silence as if cutting ties would be a betrayal. We've been taught that severing connections is a sign of weakness, a form of cruelty, when in fact, it may be the greatest act of self-love you can perform. Let's get philosophical for a moment. The Stoics emphasized that we should not worry about what we cannot control, and that includes the actions of others. You can't control how others behave, but you can control whether or not you continue to keep them in your life. The real challenge is in doing it quietly. And don't misunderstand me. It's not about silent revenge or pretending to be superior. It's simply the conscious decision to stop nurturing a relationship that depletes you, doing so without fanfare. Think about it. There's no need for drama to eliminate something that no longer serves you. You don't need to announce to the world that you're purging people from your life. It's much like when you stop watering a plant that has stopped blooming. You do so calmly, knowing that it's no longer a part of your garden. The plant will continue its path, and so will you, and that's perfectly fine. It's not that these people are inherently bad, but their energy clashes with yours. And that's the key. Being aware of how you feel after spending time with them. Pay attention to your body, your emotions. If you notice that every interaction with someone feels like an emotional marathon, you might be involved in a toxic relationship. As painful as it may be to admit, once you recognize it, you can start the process of gently distancing yourself. Gradually reduce your interactions, stop initiating contact, and simply stop making yourself available. There's no need for grand gestures or confrontations. Just quietly shift your focus. It's incredibly liberating, not because you're turning your back on the world, but because you're putting your well-being first. Self-love doesn't always mean saying no out loud. Sometimes it's about quietly saying enough. Identifying these relationships is simple. If every time you see a message from them, you feel a knot in your stomach, if spending time with them leaves you more drained than a week of hard work, or if you find that you're always the one giving and never receiving, then you have your answer. Once you realize this, it's time to eliminate the relationship without drama. You don't need unnecessary explanations or confrontations. Just move forward. This isn't about being cruel. It's about respecting yourself enough not to allow these people to continue draining your energy. That energy could be better spent on people or activities that truly nourish you. In the end, it's about being honest with yourself and putting your well-being above any guilt or fear of hurting others. Understand this clearly. Some people are like the wind. You can feel them, but you can't hold on to them. The best thing to do is let them go. Now, let's talk about destructive habits. You've probably caught yourself doing things that, when you really think about it, you know aren't doing you any good. These habits might seem insignificant at first, but over time, they gradually erode your mental or physical peace. I've fallen into that trap more times than I'd care to admit. It's the small, self-destructive habits that often go unnoticed, like a constant drip of water wearing down a rock. What if those small habits are the rocks in our lives? How do we eliminate them without creating a big spectacle? The first step is recognizing them. That's the tricky part. It's easy to point out what bothers us in others, but when it comes to our own behaviors, it's different. For example, how many times have you woken up, grabbed your phone without even thinking, only to find yourself mindlessly scrolling for 20 minutes? It's a harmless habit, but it sets the tone for your day. That's just one example. There's the extra cup of coffee you didn't need, the conversation you shouldn't have had, or the series you keep watching even though it's not adding anything to your life. These little things accumulate, and over time, they can create a bigger problem. Eliminating these habits isn't easy. How many times have you promised yourself that you'd quit something only to end up doing it again? You might say, "Tomorrow I'll do better," but when tomorrow comes, it's just another day of excuses. This is where Stoic philosophy can help. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers, taught that true change doesn't happen overnight. It happens in small, quiet steps. You don't need to announce to the world that you're going to change, and you don't need to make a big gesture. Just start by observing. The key is awareness. When you catch yourself reaching for your phone for no reason, stop. It's not necessary to throw it out the window, though that might feel cathartic. Just put it down. When you realize you're on your third cup of coffee and you don't really need it, ask yourself why you're drinking it. If it's just habit, set the cup down. Sometimes the key to eliminating self-destructive habits is simply stopping at the right moment, without drama or monumental changes. It's about consistency, quietly making small shifts. If you don't see immediate progress, don't get discouraged. Just like when you plant a seed and forget about it, one day you'll look back and realize that growth has happened, quietly and without fanfare. Small efforts, over time, lead to big victories. So, when you recognize a habit that's taking away more than it's giving, eliminate it quietly. You don't need to announce it or make a scene. Just let it go, step by step, drop by drop. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "True change doesn't make noise, it just happens." Next, there's the desire to control everything. Have you ever felt like if you don't have complete control over everything around you, the world will fall apart? I completely understand. We like to believe that if we plan everything down to the last detail, life will operate like a perfectly oiled machine, but that's an illusion. The more we try to control everything, the more unbalanced we become. So, how are you doing with that desire for control? The truth is, it's a mental trap. It's a mirage that we build brick by brick every time we believe that if we try hard enough, we can make everything turn out exactly how we want. The universe doesn't work that way, and Stoic philosophy teaches us that the key is not in controlling the uncontrollable, but in letting go of what's unnecessary and focusing on what is truly within our control. Think about it. We try to control time, the opinions of others, the reactions we receive, and even the outcomes of things. But that's like trying to stop the tide with your hands. Nonsense. Yet, we do it all the time. And the more we try, the more frustrated we become when things don't turn out as expected. Imagine carrying a backpack, and every time you try to control something you can't, you add a stone to it. At first, it doesn't feel too heavy, but over time, the weight becomes unbearable. Wouldn't it be better to let go of those stones and make room for what truly matters? Focus on what you can control, your emotions, your actions. Everything else? Let it go. For a long time, I was obsessed with trying to anticipate every possible outcome, especially when it came to meetings or social events. I'd worry about every possible question or how an outing would go. It was exhausting. And of course, most of the things I worried about never happened. Eventually, I realized that trying to control everything only added anxiety and didn't give me more control. Little by little, I started letting go, trusting the process more. And you know what? Things still happened, sometimes good, sometimes not. But I felt lighter because I wasn't carrying that unnecessary weight anymore. Learning to trust life isn't about being passive. It's about having the maturity to accept that there are things beyond your control, and that's okay. Letting go of the need to control everything frees up space for the unexpected, for surprises, and for life to unfold naturally. It's not about doing nothing, it's about accepting what you can't change and focusing on what you can. True control comes from letting go. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted in his Meditations, true control comes not from trying to manipulate every situation, but from letting go of those things that we cannot control. The reality is that many of us cling to the idea that we must have absolute control over everything in our lives. Have you ever felt that if you don't maintain a tight grip on every detail, things will fall apart? I certainly have. We often believe that if we can just plan things perfectly, foresee every possible issue, and have everything under control, life will work seamlessly. But this is an illusion. The more we try to control the uncontrollable, the more we start to feel out of balance. The trap is that by clinging to this need for control, we create our own mental prisons, brick by brick, as we try to control things that lie outside of our influence. This mindset is futile, like trying to stop the tide with your hands. Instead of obsessing over controlling the external world, Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what truly matters, our own actions and reactions. For instance, we can't control time, the opinions of others, or the outcomes of situations. Attempting to manage all of that is as pointless as trying to control the wind. Yet, we persist. The more we focus on what's beyond our reach, the heavier the mental burden becomes. Imagine carrying a backpack. Every time we try to control something we cannot, we add another stone to the bag. Initially, it might not feel heavy, but over time, the weight becomes unbearable. Wouldn't it be easier to just let go of those stones? Once we begin releasing the need for control, life feels lighter and more manageable. This doesn't mean we become passive or irresponsible, but rather we recognize that there are things in life that are simply beyond our control, and that is okay. By letting go of that need for control, we free ourselves and make space for peace and clarity. Take it from Marcus Aurelius, who reminds us that true power lies in letting go of the uncontrollable. Life flows more naturally when we stop trying to force every outcome, and instead learn to trust the process and focus only on what we can actually influence. This shift is liberating, and although it's not easy, it's essential for mental peace. Next comes the subject of unrealistic expectations. I don't know about you, but I've spent a good part of my life believing that perfection was the standard I needed to meet. No one explicitly told me this, but it was implied in the way others praised certain achievements, in the subtle yet constant comparisons made in everyday life, and in the societal pressures to do it all. Over time, I began to believe that if I met these expectations, I would find success and fulfillment. But in reality, these ideals are far from the truth. Striving to meet unrealistic expectations is like trying to fill a bottomless pit with a leaky bucket. It's an exhausting, futile endeavor. The more you try, the more you end up with frustration. What's worse is that many of these expectations aren't even ours to begin with. They're imposed upon us by family, friends, society, and sometimes even by our own inner dialogue. We take them on because, in our pursuit of self-improvement, we feel pressured to fulfill them. Here's an exercise I'd like to offer. Think of a time when you felt disappointed about not accomplishing something that, deep down, you didn't even care about. How many of your goals are driven by expectations that aren't even truly yours? Many times we set ourselves up with such high standards that when we fall short, we feel worthless. If we're not the best at our jobs, the perfect partner, or the model friend, we end up feeling inadequate. Stoic philosophy provides a refreshing perspective. The Stoics taught that we can't control how others perceive us, nor can we guarantee that the world will align with our wishes, but we can control how we respond to it. The key to relieving the pressure of unrealistic expectations is to lower them. This doesn't mean settling for mediocrity, but rather freeing ourselves from the weight of trying to be perfect. We no longer need to be bound by the pressure of meeting impossible standards. We simply need to exist and keep moving forward. Of course, this isn't something that happens overnight. It's more like cleaning out a closet full of clothes that no longer fit. It starts with identifying which expectations don't belong to you and gradually letting go of them. And then, look at the expectations that are truly yours. Are they realistic? You don't have to keep everything. A simple way to lower the burden of expectations is to change how you speak to yourself. For instance, instead of saying, "I must do everything perfectly," you can try telling yourself, "I will do my best with what I have now." This small shift is incredibly freeing, as it allows room for mistakes and improvement without the constant stress of perfection. Another effective way to reduce external pressures is by not sharing your plans with everyone. The fewer people know about what you're working on, the fewer expectations they will place on you. In the end, the less you expect, the more freedom you'll feel, and the less weight you'll carry. The need to always be right is another destructive habit that can be silently eliminated. Have you ever noticed that urge to always be the one who's right, to prove that you know everything? It's like turning every conversation into a battlefield, where winning means proving your superiority. But the truth is, you're not really fighting anyone but yourself. Every time you insist on having the last word or the right answer, it's as if you're trying to convince yourself that your value is tied to being right. It's mentally exhausting. Society, social media, and even family can make us believe that being wrong is a weakness. But here's a secret. Sometimes being right is the least important thing. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we cannot control the way others perceive us or the thoughts they have. In this endless race to prove we're right, we end up draining ourselves of energy. So how do we stop? The first step is to accept that you don't have to be the smartest person in every conversation. It's okay to be wrong, to not have an answer, or to not have a strong opinion on every issue. The second step is to learn how to listen. There's a big difference between hearing and truly listening. The first is simply a biological function, but the second is an art that few master. When you really listen, you stop feeling that anxious need to correct or prove your point. And finally, learn to embrace the silence. Sometimes the best argument is not to speak at all, but simply to let others share their views. After all, winning an argument is not the same as finding peace. The next area to address is digital noise. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded by digital distractions. We're surrounded by the incessant ping of social media notifications, endless messages, and constant updates. It seems as though everything is designed to pull our attention in 1,000 different directions, leaving us feeling like we're in control, when in fact, the chaos is controlling us. We live in an age where silence has become a rare luxury, but it's not as out of reach as it seems. To regain control of your attention, you need to start eliminating the sources of digital noise. I'm not suggesting that you cut yourself off completely from technology, but you need to be mindful of what's stealing your focus. The digital world is filled with noise, and the more accounts you follow, the more cluttered your mind becomes. It's easy to get caught up in endless scrolling, watching others' lives unfold. But all this noise is not adding value to your life. Start by eliminating the unnecessary accounts and notifications. You don't need to be constantly updated on every little detail. The more you reduce your digital distractions, the more you'll reclaim your peace and focus. It's a small step toward eliminating the noise that clutters your mind and learning to enjoy the silence. Let's start with social media. Yes, I know it sounds cliché, but trust me, the more accounts you follow, the more noise you're adding. I'm not saying you need to disconnect completely, but you have to be aware of the impact it has. Ask yourself, what did the cousin of a friend of your sister's friend post today? Eliminate everything that doesn't serve you. And just like you would tidy up your closet from time to time, do a digital cleanup. Clear out what no longer serves you and what should never have been there in the first place. One of the first things to go should be notifications. This is where things get interesting. Why do you allow your phone to interrupt you every 2 minutes? Every time you hear a vibration or a message, your brain jumps to attention, robbing you not just of time, but also of mental energy. Turn off all notifications that aren't essential. At first you might feel anxious, like you're missing out on something, but soon you'll realize how good it feels to take control of when and how you check your phone. And speaking of that, there's this thing called the fear of missing out, or FOMO. It's a modern villain we all live with, making us feel like we're losing something important if we're not connected. But here's an uncomfortable truth. What truly matters isn't on that screen. It's all around you, in the people, in the moments that go unnoticed, because you're always waiting for the latest viral meme. Get rid of that fear. Let go of the need to be in everything. The more you try to be everywhere, the more you miss out on what's truly meaningful. Once you get rid of the unnecessary noise, something magical happens. You start to hear what really matters. Digital silence becomes the first step toward reconnecting with yourself, your true priorities, and your ideas. This is where Stoic philosophy becomes relevant. You can't control everything that happens around you, but you can control how you respond to it. Believe me, once you remove the digital noise, everything else becomes clearer. So, my advice is this: choose silence, not as the absence of noise, but as the conscious presence of what you truly want in your life. In the end, that's the true luxury of our time. As Gandhi once said, peace doesn't come when the noise is turned off, but when you decide to listen to yourself. Now, let's talk about negative thoughts. Have you ever noticed how these negative thoughts sneak in without much fanfare, almost unnoticed, only to end up taking control of everything you do? They're like those neighbors who show up without warning and just never leave. The worst part is that you often let them in, not because you want to, but because they convince you that their presence is an inevitable part of your daily routine. But what if I told you that you could change the lock and kick them out? Let's be clear. These thoughts are nothing more than destructive patterns that end up shaping your actions in the worst possible way. How often have you found yourself thinking that everything is going wrong or that you'll never succeed? And of course, when you repeat those thoughts over and over, you start to believe them. What you believe, you begin to act on. It's like planting a poisonous tree and then wondering why its fruit isn't edible. The curious thing is that these negative thoughts are not necessarily reality. They only feel as real as the ground beneath your feet. This is where Stoic philosophy steps in with its brutal simplicity. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it. It may sound simple, but it's something most of us forget. Those mental patterns can dictate your emotions and actions when the real freedom lies in taking control of your responses. Of course, it's not something that changes overnight. The first key is silence. Yes, you read that right. Silently eliminate the thoughts you don't need. You don't need to put on a show to remove them. It's simply about recognizing when a negative thought appears, identifying it, and moving on without feeding it. The more attention you give it, the more power you give it. It's like a fly in the room. If you obsess over catching it, you're just making it worse. Why not just ignore it until it eventually tires itself out? Another powerful technique is to question these thoughts every time they assault you. Ask yourself, is this really true? Is everything really going wrong for me? Or is this just an exaggerated perception? Often you'll realize that these thoughts are inflated and don't have a real basis. And if they do have some truth, at least you can start thinking about solutions instead of wallowing in the problem. Lastly, there's detachment. I'm not suggesting you become a monk on top of a mountain, but you do need to start taking emotional distance from the thoughts you think are yours. They're not you, and just because something passes through your mind doesn't mean it should stay there. With practice, you'll begin to see these thoughts as what they really are, simple passing clouds in a sky that is always there, firm and unshaken. Negative thoughts are those little things you should eliminate quietly from your life. No need for a big fuss, just a change of focus, patience, and internal questioning. At the end of the day, what you think shapes what you do, and what you do defines who you are. As Brian Tracy said, thoughts are not facts, but if you believe them, they become your reality. Next, let's address physical and mental disorder. There are days when you wake up and feel like the world is weighing a bit more than usual. You look around and you realize it's not just a feeling. It's that your space is cluttered. Objects, papers, clothes thrown on the chair. It's a mess. And somehow it feels like your mind is just as disordered. I don't know if this happens to you, but when my surroundings are chaotic, I feel like my mind follows suit. Physical and mental disorder are more connected than we realize. There's something deeply unsettling about disorder in your space. It directly affects your mental clarity. The Stoics, for instance, spoke about focusing on the essentials and eliminating the superfluous. Disorder is the opposite of that. It's all the unnecessary distractions that drive you crazy. The accumulation of things doesn't just take up physical space. It consumes your energy. All that clutter, every item out of place, every paper strewn about, adds mental noise. It fills your mind with little pending tasks and worries you didn't even know you had. You know that feeling of wanting to organize something but not knowing where to start. That's the trick. Don't try to do it all at once. Just silently eliminate what's no longer useful. The first step is simple. Observe. Look around you and ask yourself, do I really need all of this? If you haven't used something in a long time, chances are you don't need it anymore. But it's not just about physical stuff. Mental clutter works the same way. We accumulate thoughts, worries, and emotions like someone hoarding broken objects, thinking they might be useful one day. But the truth is, keeping all that only weighs us down. So what should you do? Eliminate it, quietly, little by little. You don't need to make a big show of it. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. Just let it go. This applies to both physical and mental clutter. Sometimes silence is an act of rebellion in a world that is constantly noisy. If there are people in your life who bring discomfort, if there are projects that no longer motivate you or thoughts that only drain you, get rid of them, without drama, without explanations. Just let them go. Remember, the state of your external environment often reflects your inner state. So, if you start bringing a little more clarity to your surroundings, you'll begin to notice how that clarity also makes its way into your mind. It's not magic, it's a process. Just like when you clean out a drawer and suddenly feel lighter. Each thing you put in its place is one less worry. Every item you get rid of brings you one step closer to a lighter, clearer life. The Stoics didn't complicate things with unnecessary distractions. They understood that the key is to focus on the important stuff, what really deserves your attention, and to let everything else go. And that's how we should live too. In a world full of physical and mental disorder, it can feel like walking through a maze with no way out. But when you begin getting rid of what you don't need, you'll realize that the way out was always there. You just couldn't see it because of all the extra baggage. If you want peace of mind, start by organizing what's around you. Do it slowly, without rushing or making noise. Just eliminate quietly and consistently. Your mind will thank you. As Nelson Mandela once said, when the noise is silenced, the essential can be heard more clearly. Finally, let's talk about unnecessary comparisons. Why do you constantly compare yourself to others? I'm sure you've done it, and let's be honest, we all do it. But do you really think it's helpful? It's like racing in a competition where the other competitors aren't even in the race. Comparing yourself to others often feels like you're competing in a race where the other participants aren't even aware they're in it. And worse, they probably don't care about it at all. Meanwhile, you're fixated on each step, each stumble, each little bit of progress, not your own, but that of others. This habit of comparison is like trying to win a singing contest while using someone else's voice. It's completely pointless. You have your own melody and rhythm, yet you insist on following someone else's score. The problem is that what may seem like a harmless habit gradually chips away at your self-esteem. One day, you wake up and feel like you're not enough. You're not fast enough, not good enough, just not enough. And all of this happens because you've been too busy looking around at others instead of focusing on your own path. The truth is that life isn't a sprint. It's more like a boat journey. You're the one who decides the course, the stops, and the pace. But if you're too focused on the boats passing you by, the only thing you're accomplishing is steering your own boat off course. What's interesting is that while you're watching the other boats, the people on those boats are probably doing the exact same thing, watching yours. That's how absurd the act of comparison really is. Everyone is busy looking at everyone else, but no one is truly enjoying their own journey. Here's a thought. Stop comparing yourself silently. Do it the same way you'd get rid of an old t-shirt you no longer wear. No one needs to know, but you'll notice the change. Comparing yourself to others is not only pointless, it's a betrayal of who you are. It's like telling yourself that you're not good enough, that you need to be someone else in order to matter. But when you think about it, that way of thinking makes no sense. The Stoics understood this well. The only person you should compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. So, when that little voice inside your head starts making comparisons, don't just stay silent. That won't help. It will only make the voice louder. Instead, listen to it, but question its logic. Why are you comparing yourself to that particular person? What makes you feel inferior? And here's where it gets important. Remember everything you've achieved on your own journey. Take a moment to reflect on your own progress, even the small steps forward. You'd be surprised how easily we forget our achievements when we're constantly looking at what others are doing. Another effective strategy is to practice gratitude. I know it may sound cliché, but I assure you it's powerful. Be thankful for what you have, for what you've achieved, for who you are. When you focus on what you already have, rather than what you lack or what others possess, something shifts. Suddenly, the weight of comparison begins to fade, and you start to see that the only path that truly matters is your own. In the end, life is too short to waste time competing in a race that isn't even real. Comparing yourself only distracts you from what truly matters. Living your life according to your own pace and on your own terms. And believe me, once you start doing that, you'll realize how freeing it is. I want to leave you with a reflection that helped me immensely in my toughest moments. My friend once told me that when you stop seeing yourself through the eyes of others, you discover who you truly are. If you've made it this far, leave a comment. In silence, you will find your answer. I'd love to hear about your success stories. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment so that YouTube can recognize that these videos are valuable to people like you. Your support motivates us to keep creating similar content in the future. I also suggest you check out the last 2 videos we recommended. Thank you so much for your time and support. See you soon in our next adventure. Have you ever imagined a world where everything you hope for becomes reality? A place where your goals, your dreams, and your deepest aspirations don't just live in the realm of possibility, but become tangible, real experiences? If so, you're exactly where you need to be. Today, we're diving into a powerful secret that can help you make this vision your truth. It's not magic, and it's not a gimmick. It's a philosophy of life. That philosophy is Stoicism. Stoicism teaches us the profound value of directing our attention inward, toward our own actions, reactions, and mindset. It shows us that by mastering what happens within us, we can reshape our external world and bring about extraordinary change. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at 15 Stoic principles that can help you do just that. Each principle will be broken down thoroughly, accompanied by a meaningful quote from a Stoic philosopher that brings its deeper significance to life. So sit back, take a breath, and get ready to embark on a journey to the very core of Stoicism. Before we go any further, I would truly appreciate it if you could give this video a like. It helps the message reach more people who might benefit from it. And if you don't want to miss any of my future content, be sure to subscribe and activate the notification bell. Let's begin with the first key, ataraxia. Ataraxia represents inner peace, a state of serene calmness. The Stoics regarded it as one of the highest forms of happiness. The term, originally Greek, is often translated as tranquility or imperturbability. To the Stoics, true happiness could never be found in fleeting pleasures or in the approval of others. Instead, it lives in the quiet peace of a well-ordered mind. Ataraxia comes from accepting life as it is, without the constant need for things to be different than they are. It's the understanding that while we cannot control external events, we have absolute power over our interpretation and response to them. When we release ourselves from the grip of unrealistic expectations and embrace the present moment for what it is, we begin to experience true peace. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them. This insight reminds us that our emotional stability and inner harmony depend not on what happens to us, but on how we choose to interpret those happenings. By cultivating ataraxia, we stop wasting energy on what we can't control and start directing our focus to what genuinely matters, our own personal growth and inner development. Now we move on to the second Stoic key, amor fati, which means to love one's fate. Amor fati is more than acceptance. It's the act of embracing everything that life hands us, both the joyful and the painful. Rather than resisting hardships or mourning the misfortunes that cross our path, Stoicism teaches us to see these experiences as essential parts of our journey. Amor fati is about perceiving every moment, no matter how challenging, as meaningful and necessary for our evolution. It is about recognizing that each twist in the road is a step toward becoming the person we are meant to be. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully when he wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you, woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" This reflection tells us that everything we encounter is designed to teach us, shape us, and prepare us for what's next. By practicing amor fati, we stop fighting life and instead flow with it. We gain a deeper appreciation for the lessons in our difficulties, and we become stronger, wiser, and more grounded as a result. This mindset shift empowers us to stay focused on our inner journey instead of becoming stuck in resistance or bitterness. Let's continue with the third key, prosoche, the art of mindfulness. Prosoche is the practice of paying close attention to the present moment. It's about being deeply aware of our actions, thoughts, and emotions as they happen, without casting judgment or letting ourselves be swept away. The Stoics emphasized that the present is the only place where we have real influence. We can't control the past, and the future is uncertain. But here, now, in this moment, we have full power over how we act, how we think, and how we respond. Practicing prosoche means living consciously. It's choosing not to be distracted by what might be or what has been, but instead devoting ourselves fully to doing what is right now. Epictetus, once again, provides insight with his words. Don't seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish for them to happen as they do, and you will go on well. This is a gentle but firm reminder to release our grip on control and trust the flow of reality, focusing instead on how we engage with the world moment by moment. When we embrace prosoche, we begin to notice how often our attention drifts. We start catching ourselves when our mind races ahead to worries about tomorrow or lingers in regrets from yesterday. In returning our focus to the present, we bring ourselves back to power. We step into clarity, and that clarity helps us turn inward, refine our intentions, and live in alignment with our true values. Mindfulness, in this Stoic sense, is not simply about awareness. It is about wise awareness, the kind that transforms how we live our lives. Finally, we arrive at the fourth key, eudaimonia, what the Stoics referred to as the good life. Eudaimonia isn't about fleeting pleasure, status, or material wealth. It's about something far deeper and more lasting. To the Stoics, the good life was one rooted in virtue, wisdom, and purpose. It meant living in alignment with nature, not just the external world, but our inner nature as rational, ethical beings. Eudaimonia is a life guided by integrity, where our thoughts, actions, and values are in harmony. True happiness, according to the Stoic worldview, is not found in chasing after things that constantly shift and fade. It is found in the commitment to be a good person, to do good work, and to contribute meaningfully to the world around us. Living in this way brings a sense of deep fulfillment that no amount of wealth or pleasure can provide. It's about waking up each day with a clear conscience and a heart focused on what truly matters. As we continue this journey through the Stoic keys, remember that each of these principles is not just a concept, it's a practice, a daily exercise in how we live, how we think, and how we respond to life. Stay with me, because there is so much more Stoic wisdom to come. Let's keep exploring this philosophy together. To the Stoics, living in harmony with nature means living virtuously. It involves understanding that our true happiness and inner fulfillment do not come from external circumstances, but rather from our own actions, decisions, and moral character. As Seneca, one of the most renowned Stoic philosophers, put it, "It is not the man who has little who is poor, but the one who always wants more." This profound statement reminds us that genuine wealth and contentment are found not in material possessions, but in the strength and virtue of our character. This idea forms the foundation of eudaimonia, a concept central to Stoic thought. Eudaimonia refers to human flourishing and the pursuit of a life of meaning and virtue. When you focus on personal growth, strive for virtue, and live with intention, you begin to discover lasting fulfillment and a deeper sense of peace. Memento mori, remember that you will die. The fifth Stoic principle is memento mori, a Latin phrase that means remember that you will die. This powerful concept is not meant to invoke fear, but rather to awaken us to the fragility of life and to inspire intentional action. Reflecting on our mortality reminds us that life is finite, and because of this, every single day becomes precious. By keeping death in mind, we learn to appreciate each moment, to live with urgency, purpose, and depth. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic thinker, once wrote in his Meditations, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." This reflection teaches us that each day is a gift and urges us to use it wisely. Practicing memento mori helps us recognize the beauty of the present and encourages us to live each day with gratitude and purpose. It allows us to direct our energy toward personal growth rather than becoming entangled in what is outside of our control. Enkrateia, self-control. The sixth Stoic principle is enkrateia, which translates to self-control. The Stoics saw self-control as essential for a virtuous and fulfilling life. It means having the discipline to govern your thoughts, emotions, and actions, especially when faced with temptations or difficulties. Self-control is not about repression, but about mastery. It is the strength to remain steady and aligned with your values, even when emotions or external pressures try to pull you off course. Epictetus, a prominent Stoic philosopher, said that happiness is not found in the abundance of possessions or pleasures, but in the absence of desire. This quote reflects the Stoic belief that true self-control comes not from fighting desires, but from rising above them. By practicing enkrateia, you learn to govern yourself with wisdom and clarity. This form of discipline empowers you to stay grounded and focused on your personal development, regardless of the chaos or distractions around you. Affiliation, a sense of belonging. The seventh Stoic principle is affiliation, which refers to the deep sense of belonging and connection to a greater whole. The Stoics taught that we are all parts of a larger community and that we share a mutual responsibility to contribute to the well-being of others. Affiliation is the conscious recognition of our interconnectedness and the decision to act with that awareness. It's about realizing that our choices have effects not just on ourselves, but on the world around us. Hierocles, a Stoic philosopher, proposed a model of concentric circles to describe this idea. At the center is the individual, surrounded by family, friends, community, humanity, and finally, the cosmos. This model serves as a reminder that we are part of something much larger than ourselves, and that our actions can ripple outward to affect others. By practicing affiliation, you become more aware of the impact of your behavior and choices, and you begin to live in a way that contributes to both your personal growth and the good of your community. It's a balanced perspective that keeps you grounded in yourself while also expanding your compassion and responsibility toward others. Love for humanity. The eighth Stoic key is love for humanity. The Stoics held a deep belief in the importance of kindness, compassion, and generosity. Loving humanity means acting with goodness and empathy toward others, expecting nothing in return. It is the understanding that we are all members of the same human family, and with that comes a duty to care for and support one another. Seneca said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." This quote beautifully encapsulates the Stoic perspective on human connection. Regardless of the situation, there is always a moment to show compassion. Practicing love for humanity allows you to move through life with a generous heart and a spirit of unity. It encourages you to grow internally by doing good externally, fostering a deeper sense of meaning and connection with the world around you. Moderation. The ninth Stoic principle is moderation. The Stoics emphasize the importance of living a balanced life and avoiding extremes. They believed that true happiness and virtue are found in the middle ground, not in excess and not in deprivation. Moderation is about finding harmony within your desires, actions, and lifestyle. It is the wisdom to know when enough is enough, and the strength to maintain equilibrium in the face of temptation or hardship. By practicing moderation, you create space for peace, clarity, and thoughtful living. You are no longer ruled by cravings or impulsive behaviors, but are instead guided by reason and virtue. This balanced approach helps you grow internally while maintaining a steady and focused life path. Moderation allows you to develop a life of stability, wisdom, and inner freedom, hallmarks of the Stoic way. Living a balanced life and avoiding excess is about striving for harmony in all areas of your life. It means recognizing that extremes, whether they come in the form of pleasures or hardships, can often lead to discontent and suffering. This understanding is a central theme in Stoic philosophy. Epictetus, one of the most notable Stoic philosophers, once said that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This insight teaches us that genuine wealth and lasting happiness are not found in acquiring material things or indulging in pleasure, but in leading a life of moderation and balance. When you begin to live this way, you start to discover a sense of peace and fulfillment that comes from within, rather than from external circumstances. Practicing this mindset helps you stay centered and focused on personal growth, allowing you to develop into your best self without falling into the trap of overindulgence. Differentiating what you can control from what you cannot is a fundamental Stoic practice. The Stoics believed that true peace and satisfaction in life come from placing our attention on what is within our power and accepting what lies beyond our control. This involves developing the ability to distinguish between your actions and thoughts, which are within your control, and the external events and circumstances that are not. It's about accepting that while you cannot always influence what happens around you, you do have full control over how you respond to those events. Epictetus emphasized this idea by saying, "It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about things." This quote highlights the truth that our emotional state and inner peace are shaped not by external events themselves, but by how we interpret and react to them. Embracing this principle allows you to let go of unnecessary stress and focus instead on mastering your mindset and behavior, paving the way for deeper personal growth. The premeditation of evils, also known as negative visualization, was a regular exercise for the Stoics. They would mentally prepare themselves by imagining the possible difficulties or challenges they might face in the future. This wasn't an act of pessimism, but rather a wise and practical preparation. It is the art of anticipating potential hardships and developing the mental strength to deal with them, should they arise. This practice helps you build emotional resilience, so that when things don't go as expected, you are not caught off guard. A wise Stoic philosopher once stated that the wise always consider adversity as a possibility and are therefore prepared to face it. This thought reminds us that true wisdom lies not in naively hoping that everything will always go well, but in being prepared for life's uncertainties. When you embrace this mindset, you train yourself to remain calm, steady, and composed even in the most difficult circumstances. It's a perspective that reinforces your inner stability and supports your continuous development. The idea of universal connection is another powerful teaching in Stoicism. The Stoics believed that we are all integral parts of a larger whole, deeply connected with the universe and everything within it. This belief encourages us to recognize our place in the grand design and to act with an awareness of how our behavior affects the broader world. It's about understanding that every choice we make ripples outward and touches the lives of others and the balance of the universe itself. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic Roman emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." This quote serves as a reminder that we are not isolated individuals. Our well-being is tied to the collective well-being of the world around us. By living with this awareness, you begin to act more responsibly and with greater compassion, making choices that not only benefit you, but also support the greater good. This viewpoint encourages a life of purpose, empathy, and unity, all of which are essential for personal development and inner peace. Arete, often translated as the excellence of character, is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics taught that the ultimate goal of life is to develop a virtuous character and live in alignment with nature. Arete is the daily practice of nurturing your inner virtues and staying true to your values. It's about understanding that real happiness and contentment don't come from external success or circumstances, but from your own character and the way you live your life. Epictetus spoke of this when he said, "Do not seek for events to happen as you want them to. Rather, want them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly." This wisdom reminds us that peace and happiness are not determined by the world around us, but by how we choose to respond to it. When you commit to practicing arete, you focus on becoming a person of integrity, wisdom, and virtue. It's a lifelong journey of self-discipline and inner growth, one that leads to true fulfillment. The principle of duty is a central tenet in Stoic thought. The Stoics believed that each person has a moral responsibility, not only to themselves, but also to others. Living by this principle means honoring your roles and responsibilities, not out of fear or obligation, but because it is the right and virtuous thing to do. It involves understanding that your actions have consequences, not just for you, but for the people and world around you. Fulfilling your duty with integrity strengthens your character and creates a positive ripple effect in the world. It's about living in a way that is consistent with your values, being reliable, and doing your part to contribute to the greater good. This sense of duty brings clarity, purpose, and a deep sense of inner satisfaction, and it is essential to living a life of virtue and personal excellence. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, reflected in his meditations that one should do what is in harmony with the nature of a good man. This quote serves as a powerful reminder that our responsibility is to behave in ways that reflect the virtues and nature of a morally upright person. By embracing this mindset, you can learn to carry out your responsibilities and obligations in a way that resonates with your inner values and ethical beliefs. Adopting this perspective enables you to remain centered on your personal growth and self-development. Logos, the principle of universal reason, forms the 15th and final essential element of Stoic wisdom. The Stoics believed in an underlying rational structure to the universe, a guiding logic known as the Logos. According to their view, the universe operates according to this built-in reason, and it is our task as human beings to live in accordance with this natural order. Practicing Logos means committing to the pursuit of truth and wisdom by means of rational thought and logical inquiry. It involves recognizing that our actions and decisions should be influenced by reason, rather than being swayed by fluctuating emotions or impulsive desires. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote that everything that happens in the way that universal nature wants it to happen. This statement reminds us that we must seek to understand the flow of universal logic and live in accordance with it, rather than resist or fight against it. By embracing the principle of Logos, you can learn to make thoughtful and rational choices, allowing your life to align more closely with the wisdom and reason that governs the universe. This approach not only grounds you in personal discipline, but also deepens your connection to the greater cosmic order, reinforcing your focus on self-mastery and purposeful living. We now arrive at the end of our journey through the 15 Stoic principles that guide us toward focusing on ourselves. Each one of these timeless teachings offers a unique insight into how we can lead a life that is not only fulfilling, but deeply meaningful. From ataraxia, the state of serene calmness, to Logos, the universal reason, these Stoic principles remind us that we possess the inner power to control our actions and responses. They call us to live in alignment with our values and to contribute to the well-being of those around us. Let us remember that Stoicism is not merely an ancient philosophy preserved in books. It is a practical and transformative guide meant to be lived and practiced daily. If you apply these Stoic principles in your own life, you can discover a profound sense of inner peace, live with clear intention, and awaken your true potential. So, the question remains, are you prepared to begin this journey of self-discovery and inner transformation? As the great Stoic thinker Seneca once said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Thank you for accompanying us on this path through Stoicism. May these teachings serve to inspire you to turn inward, cultivate personal strength, and lead a life that is rich with meaning and purpose. Until we meet again.